Chapter 4:15. Ha, stop fooling around, our president came back to China less than half a year ago. We've been married less than half a year, Huamin replied. But I haven't heard anything about our president being married. He doesn't even have a girlfriend. Wang Tao carefully recalled what he had heard about his big boss. An employee of your level doesn't have that much right to know, does he? Ha! I still don't believe you, your joke is a bit too much. Wang Tao was 100% sure that this woman was bluffing, although he could tell that this woman was dressed in international luxury clothing, that didn't mean that she was the president's wife. Huamin put down his beer, took out his phone, and slowly said, So, do you want to make a bet? What bet? Wang Tao froze. I'm going to call Qin Chu right now and ask him to fire you immediately. If you receive a notice from GK tomorrow morning, then I'm telling the truth. If you don't, then I'm lying. But you have to think this through, you're betting your entire career on this bet. After all, it wasn't easy for you to get promoted to deputy director at GK, right? Let me do the math, with your current position, your annual salary plus bonuses should be no less than 800,000 yuan a year. Not bad. Wang Tao's heart began to pound upon hearing this woman's words. What if you're messing with me? What if you lose? If I lie, then I'll kowtow to you in front of GK tomorrow morning and call you daddy, okay? No need. The man wasn't an idiot, seeing how confident Huamin was. Although he was skeptical, he didn't dare to bet his entire career on this bet. After all, he worked hard for this position for many years. He wasn't young anymore, he was already 37 years old and finally had a successful career. If he lost everything because of this, wouldn't he cry himself to death? So, in the end, Wang Tao didn't dare to make this bet with Huamin. Beauty, since we're here, let's have a drink and get to know each other. Wang Tao thought a lot. If this woman really was the president's wife, then it was necessary for him to flatter her a little. If he said something nice about her in the future, he might be able to get promoted. Aren't you afraid that your president will fire you for harassing his wife like this? Be smart and leave quickly. Don't make me lose my patience. Otherwise, you'll regret it. Huamin hated being hit on or harassed in bars. She only came here because she was in a bad mood and wanted to have a drink. Therefore, he gave him a very unfriendly warning. Wang Tao didn't dare to break the rules. He nodded. All right then. Goodbye. Take your time. After Wang Tao left, Huamin sent a WeChat message to Zhu Lingling. He wanted to ask her to come out, but there was no reply. Zhu Lingling did not reply, which meant that she was still on the plane. She had known Zhu Lingling for many years, but she still couldn't figure out her schedule. It was always a mess. There was no pattern to it either. At this time, a table of people came over. There were about 12 of them, both men and women. One of them was bald and looked fat. He was wearing a flowery shirt and a thick gold necklace. He was sitting in the middle. He had two beautiful women on his left and right sides. As soon as they sat down, the waiter brought over a lot of drinks and fruit platters. Big brother Yong, there's a nice chick over there. A man with a protruding mouth and monkey-like cheeks pointed at Huamin. The bald man looked over and squinted his eyes for a long time. Go, tell her to come over and have a drink with me. Okay. The man with a protruding mouth and monkey-like cheeks got up and walked over. Hey, beautiful, my big brother wants to have a drink with you. Huamin directly ignored him. Beautiful, my big brother is a famous person. He won't let you drink for free. I'll give you 1,000 yuan tip for a drink, how about that? The man asked with a smile. Huamin finally reacted. She turned her head and looked at the bald man. She said faintly, tell your big brother to come over and have a drink with me. I'll give him 10,000 yuan. How about that? What? The man thought he heard wrong. Chapter 4:16. Forget it if you didn't hear me clearly. I won't repeat myself. Huamin truly felt that there were a lot of idiots in bars. After one fly left, another group came. How could people drink in peace? This was Seductive Fox, the most high-end bar in the city. If it was a small bar, there would be even more despicable people trying to hit on her. The monkey-faced man glanced at Huamin and asked with a sense of superiority, "Woman, do you know who my brother is? Brother Yong of Jiangbei, do you know him? He's an asshole, do you know him?" "I've never heard of Brother Yong of Jiangbei, but I do know that there's an infamous stinky tofu in Jiangbei. Is he the owner?" The monkey-faced man was speechless. "And what the hell is an asshole? Does he walk in the streets at night?" Huamin deliberately blinked her big eyes and asked. The monkey-faced man was speechless. "Very well, just you wait." Then, the man returned to his seat and said something to the bald man. The bald man seemed to be in a good mood and kept looking over. Finally, the bald man stood up and walked over with his big belly. He looked to be at least 40 years old. But he was wearing a flowery shirt and jeans. His jeans were almost out of shape and the waistband was about 3 feet and 5 inches long. Huamin didn't know whether to laugh or cry at this mix and match. If they were on the streets of England, she really wanted to ask if this uncle was doing some kind of performance art. "Beauty, I heard from my brother that you asked me to drink with you. You're the first person who dared to ask me to drink with you. If you walk by the river often, your shoes will get wet. There's a first time for everything. There's no surprise." Huamin's tone was very calm. She wasn't afraid of the 5 or 6 tattooed bodyguards behind the bald man. It wasn't that Huamin wanted to die, it was because after the incident last time, Qin Chu immediately knew what had happened and even saw the video. He was able to get the video after the Zhou family tampered with it. This could only mean one thing. Qin Chu should be very familiar with the big boss behind this nightclub, so Huamin felt that even if she was alone here, she would still be able to find him. There wouldn't be any danger either. Even if there was danger, there would definitely be someone to save him. That was why she was so confident. Therefore, Huamin was smarter than most people. She knew how to keep herself in a safe zone. He wouldn't do those stupid things that wouldn't lead to death if he didn't seek death. In fact, she had guessed correctly. From the moment she entered the room, a man had been staring at the screen on the top floor of Seductive Fox. "Sir, Miss Hua is here. Keep an eye on her and protect her." As the boss of Seductive Fox, Rick was well aware of the relationship between Huamin and Qin Chu. Thus, when he saw Huamin enter, he didn't dare make any mistakes. Until these Jianghu vagabonds surrounded Huamin. The people behind him were a little nervous. "Sir, do you want us to settle this?" "No rush, let's wait and see." Rick rubbed his chin and looked at the woman on the screen. No wonder she was Qin Chu's woman. She was indeed different. She swaggered in and drank alone. She didn't wear heavy makeup or revealing clothes, but people could still tell that she was different. She was able to shine in a sea of people like this. "Beautiful, I can drink with you, but I, De Yong, won't do this for free. I need to be paid. You said a glass of wine for 10,000 yuan, right? I don't need money, I have money. I'll drink with you and you'll spend the night with me. How about that?" The bald man smiled lewdly. Huamin sneered. "Spend the night with you? Aren't you afraid that you won't live to see tomorrow morning?" Chapter 4:17. "Bitch, what are you talking about?" His lackeys were the first to get angry when they saw their boss get scolded by a woman. "Hey, don't get so worked up. Pretty girls are funny, I like it. Baldy was used to seeing women who tried to curry favor with him, so when he saw Huamin, a young and calm woman, he was stunned and special. Therefore, he wasn't angry at Huamin's words. Pretty girl, let me put it this way. Today, whether I drink this beer or not, you're not leaving. Why are you arguing with me? Baldy's blatant threat was met with a smile by Huamin. I don't want to cause trouble, I just want to drink quietly. Hurry up and leave. If you keep bothering me, I'll be in trouble. Ha ha ha, you're so cute. I really want to see how I'll be in trouble. Baldy laughed out loud when he heard Huamin's words. Huamin didn't say anything. She slowly picked up a bottle of beer and continued to drink, unhurried and unhurried. Jiang Qingyong, a man called out his name from behind him. Baldy turned around and his expression immediately changed. Young Master Wei, why are you here? Baldy looked at Wei Liao like a dog that saw its owner. Actually, Jiang Qingyong wasn't a real gangster. He was just a slightly more famous local hooligan. He relied on forceful demolitions and threats to make huge profits. His reputation was terrible, he was also very smart. He only dared to bully normal bosses and didn't dare to offend the real rich people in this city. For example, Su Yu and Wei Liao, I was fucking far away when I saw you bullying a girl, Wei Liao cursed. Then, a few people walked over. Behind Wei Liao was none other than Su Yu, who was wearing a khaki jacket. Beside Su Yu was Wei Liao and another young man. The four of them played at Seductive Fox for a few hours and were about to go back to sleep. When he went downstairs, Wei Liao immediately spotted Huamin in the corner. Then, he saw this group of scum harassing Huamin. At that time, Su Yu's eyes turned green. He wanted nothing more than to kill someone. No, hee, just drinking. Baldy's attitude towards Wei Liao was like that of a father. When he saw Su Yu clearly behind him, he almost knelt down and kowtowed 3 times. Su. Lord Su. You're here too? The bald man asked with a trembling voice. Without another word, Su Yu stepped forward and kicked the baldy in the stomach. The kick made the bald man stagger and lie on the ground. It was as funny as a turtle being flipped over. Brother Yong, big bro, the lackeys behind him couldn't stand it anymore and immediately went up to help him up. Don't touch me, let Lord Su continue. Baldy didn't dare to offend Su Yu, so he continued to suck up to him. Su Yu slowly walked up and stepped on Baldy's stomach. Then, he crushed it with all his might. Ugh. It was obvious that Bald Head was in a lot of pain as he let out some muffled groans. If I see you or your men harassing her again, your memorial tablet will appear at the North Mountain Wasteland tomorrow morning, Su Yu said word by word. His entire body was emitting a chilling aura. When Su Yu was angry, the look in his phoenix eyes was as sharp as a blade, making people feel that they were extremely sharp. Yes, Lord Su. I was wrong, I didn't know she was yours. No matter how stupid Baldy was, he knew what Su meant. He really regretted not listening to that woman. He endured the pain in his stomach, raised his head, and slapped himself hard. He wanted to show his sincerity to Su Yu. Forget it, Lord Su, why bother with a dog? Wei Liao smiled. Tang Chuan also smiled and interrupted, yeah, and it's just a Shar-Pei. After a while, Su Yu slowly lifted his foot. Get out, yes, Lord Su. Baldy saw that Su Yu finally let him go, so he immediately got up and left with his men. He didn't dare to stay for a moment. After everything was done, Su Yu walked up to Huamin. Seeing the 6 empty bottles in front of her, his heart ached slightly. What made you so depressed that you drank so much? Chapter 4:18. It's none of your business. Huamin turned her head and continued to drink. She told the bald guy that he was in trouble not because she knew that Su Yu was here. It was because she knew that the person behind the bar was about to make a move. She didn't know what the relationship between that person and Chin Chu was, but she knew that the person would definitely protect her. She just didn't expect that Suyu would step in at such a critical moment. "Waiter, give me a dozen of the same beer as hers." Suyu waved his hand. When the waiter saw that the customer had spoken, he immediately brought the beer over. Suyu didn't say anything. He opened the beer and drank one beer at a time. He drank 6 in a row. Wei Liao and Tang Chuan were so scared that they almost peed their pants. Is Lord Su cheating? Wei Liao was dumbfounded. I think he's overexcited. Tang Chuan was also stunned. Although Suyu had a high alcohol tolerance because he frequented nightclubs, he didn't see him drink so much. Even if Budweiser was a small bottle, drinking 6 in a row was still very dangerous. Okay. What are you doing? After Huamin saw the 6 empty bottles, he finally looked at Suyu in the eye. I've caught up to you. From now on, I'll drink with you. It's fair. After speaking, he picked up the 7th bottle. Suyu clinked his bottle with Huamin's and slowly drank. To be honest, when Suyu drank like he didn't care about his life, Huamin felt that this Tyrannosaurus Rex could be so manly. Are you in a bad mood? Yeah, Huamin replied gloomily. Why? I don't want to talk about it. Suyu, well, since you don't want to say it, then don't say it. Let's drink. Suyu continued to pick up the beer. Looks like we won't go home until we're drunk tonight, Wei Liao said in a low voice. But, after drinking too much, isn't that place unable to get hard? Are you sure you want to drink that much? Isn't picking up girls your main purpose? Tang Chuan looked at Suyu with heartache. Ahem. Aren't you thinking too much? Wei Liao was shocked by Tang Chuan's words. Although Suyu was indeed interested in the girl, he would never take her away tonight. There was no way Suyu would do something so despicable. Suyu had never drunk alcohol in the bar on the first floor. This time, he swaggered down. Just by drinking in a corner, he was already causing a huge commotion. If it weren't for the waiters and security guards of the nightclub, many women would have taken off their clothes to show off. All they wanted was for Lord Su to get close to them. Wei Liao and Tang Chuan were on guard duty for him, so they had enough to worry about. After more than an hour, he finished all 12 bottles of beer. Huamin's cheeks were slightly red because of the alcohol. However, his eyes were still bright and deep, and he didn't look drunk at all. Your alcohol tolerance is pretty good, Suyu complimented. I'm not drinking anymore. It's boring. Huamin stood up. Waitress, the bill please. Miss, young Master Su has already paid, the waitress said politely. How much is the total? Huamin asked. The total is 994 yuan. Huamin slowly opened his wallet, took out 500 yuan, and handed it to Suyu. What are you doing? Suyu slightly furrowed his eyebrows. We drank a total of 994 yuan worth of beer. If we split the bill, it would be 497 yuan per person, but I don't have any change, so I'll give you 3 extra yuan. Take it. After speaking, Huamin placed the 500 yuan in Suyu's hand. Then, she turned around and walked away. Damn girl, stop right there. Suyu roared. Huamin continued to walk away without looking back. Suyu quickly chased after her. This woman is so generous, she even split the bill. Ha ha ha, she's so damn cute, no wonder Lord Su likes her, I like her too. Tang Chuan laughed like crazy when he saw Huamin's attitude for the first time. Wei Liao pursed his lips and said, that's why I said she's weird. She's always so weird when something happens. He used to think that Suyu was ruthless enough, but compared to this woman, he was nothing. She was even more ruthless than Suyu. she actually gave Suyu 500 yuan. This was something that had never happened to Suyu in his 20-something years of life. No wonder he was so angry. Huamin, Suyu shouted as he walked out of Seductive Fox. Yes. Stop right there. If you have something to say, say it. Huamin helplessly stopped walking. Chapter 419. What do you mean by giving me money? It means we'll split the bill. What the hell is split the bill? Suyu asked with a frown. It means you spend your money, and I'll spend mine. Is there a need to make such a clear distinction? Suyu was furious. Huamin nodded. There is, because I'm not close enough with you for you to treat me to a drink. I realize that you're really not cute. I never said I was cute. You're so unreasonable, who would like you? Suyu was furious. I'm just admiring myself, okay? Lord Su. Huamin made a face at Suyu. Then, she turned around and walked away. Hey, where are you going? I'm going back, it's so late, it's not safe to wander around the streets. I'll give you a ride. No need, Huamin refused right away. Why? You're already so drunk, why are you giving me a ride? Forget it, I don't want to get detained by the traffic police. They'll probably check me for drunk driving, so I'll just take a cab and leave. After speaking, Huamin stopped a cab. Huamin, come back here. After Suyu came out, he felt a little dizzy from the alcohol. He wanted to grab Huamin, but he felt that his footsteps were too light, and he was walking in an S shape. In the end, he could only watch angrily as the cab left. Lord Su was left standing in the wind with 500 yuan in his hand. What's going on? Where's the girl? Tang Chuan came out and saw Suyu standing there alone, so he asked in a teasing tone. It's obvious that she's gone, leaving our young master Su to wallow in melancholy. Tang Chuan walked over and looked down at the 5 RMB notes in Suyu's hand. Lord Su has a lot of money. I don't care about this little money. Give it to me. I'll go to the dessert shop to drink something and pick up a girl. Before Tang Chuan's hand could touch the money, Suyu dodged and grabbed the 500 yuan tightly. As if it was something very important. Wei Liao, drive me back. Why don't you open it yourself? Wei Liao rolled his eyes. I drank. Haven't the traffic police been very strict recently? Suyu got into the front passenger seat of the Lamborghini. Pfft. You're afraid of drunk driving. Don't tease me. Master, which traffic police in the city doesn't know you? Who's tired of living and dares to stop you? Wei Liao felt like vomiting blood. But I want to obey the traffic rules today. Suyu said willfully. Wei Liao was speechless, Tang Chuan was speechless. In the end, Wei Liao couldn't go against Lord Su's orders. He sat in the driver's seat of the Lamborghini and drove Suyu home. On the way home, Lord Su didn't say anything. He seemed to have a soft spot for the 500 yuan. He glanced at it, then glanced at it. Wei Liao was puzzled. I say. What's different about the 500 yuan? You seem to be very interested. Suyu didn't say anything. Wei Liao took the opportunity when he wasn't paying attention and snatched it. Hey! Give it back to me. Wei Liao held the steering wheel with one hand and the money with the other. He looked at it carefully but didn't find anything strange. On the back of one of the banknotes, there were 5 blurry words written on it. Good for you. So, you're a believer of a certain wheel? Wei Liao teased. Fuck off. Suyu immediately snatched the 5 RMB notes back. Wei Liao smiled and didn't say anything else. Actually, he knew that Suyu wanted the money because it was given to him by Huamin. That's why he cherished it so much. He purposely didn't say anything to tease him. Right now, Lord Su was like a young man who was experiencing his first awakening of love. He was the epitome of a naive sweet boy. On the other hand, Huamin was like a cold CEO in a romance novel. He didn't give a damn about Suyu at all. Why did it feel like their positions were completely reversed? I say, Lord Su, if you really like the girl, you should continue to pursue her and put in more effort. Haven't you heard of a saying? What saying? Suyu glanced at Wei Liao and asked. Chapter 420. There are no couples that can't be broken up, only homewreckers that don't work hard. So, you have to be a dedicated homewrecker and break them up, Wei Liao encouraged her. You're the fucking dedicated homewrecker. Stop bullshitting me and focus on driving, don't fucking hit a tree. Suyu gave Wei Liao a headshotting reminder. Wei Liao chuckled. Huamin drank so much, yet she wasn't drunk. It was quite miraculous. The truth was, she just felt too bitter and didn't want to talk about it. When she got into the taxi and the driver asked her where she wanted to go, she didn't know what to do. Back to Imperial Park. She didn't want to go back to her old house. There was no one home yet. Miss, where are you going? The taxi driver asked. Let's drive around the city first. Huamin was a little sad. The taxi went round and round, and after about an hour, the taxi meter had already jumped to over 300 yuan. Finally, Huamin said, go to the first hospital in the city center. Finally, the car stopped in front of the hospital. Huamin got out of the car and felt a gust of cold wind. She tightened her collar. She had already turned off her phone, so she didn't know how many calls Qin Chu had made. Qin Chu and Gao Ren finished drinking and returned home. They felt bad when they saw the empty house. He called Huamin, but her phone was off. He sent her a WeChat message, but she didn't reply. He felt very, very bad. Finally, he took out a bottle of red wine from the wine cabinet and poured himself another one. Outside the VIP room, Huamin stood outside the door for a long time, not daring to go in. She heard from Jixin that her mom was awake, but she suddenly didn't dare to face her mom. Sis. Why are you standing here? Jixin was about to go out and call his sister when he saw Huamin smoking at the door. He snatched the cigarette from Huamin's hand and said, don't smoke. It will increase the risk of lung cancer. It's all right, Huamin replied calmly. Sis, did you drink? Jixin frowned slightly as he smelled the alcohol on his sister's body. Huamin didn't say anything. He leaned his back against the wall of the hospital corridor and sighed slightly. Mom is awake. She's in a good mood. She's not as bad as you think. Although she didn't mention you, I think she still wants to see you. I don't dare. Huamin spoke his mind. I think that even if Mom scolds you, it's just her mouth. She still loves you very much in her heart. You can't face these things sooner or later, can you? Although Jixin was young, his words made a lot of sense. Huamin remained silent. Sis, will you break up with Qin Chu because of this? I haven't decided yet. I don't want the two of you to break up. You've already missed out on 7 years. Don't miss out on another 7 years because of your family. Life isn't long, how many years do you have to squander? Jixin, there are some things that you don't understand. Love isn't enough. We live in this world, and sometimes we can't just live for ourselves. That's too selfish. I know, but I still hope that you won't back down so easily. Don't give up on someone you love because of some difficulties. After all, once you miss out on someone, you won't be able to find them again. You've been thinking about Qin Chu all these years, haven't you? Last time I saw you guys at the movie theater, I saw the sincere smile on your face from afar. I knew that you were happy. You never had that expression on your face when you were with Ning Ziyuan. Huamin lowered his head. It wasn't clear if he was thinking about what Jixin said or if he was thinking about something else. Sis, don't run away from love. Persevere, don't give up so easily. No wonder you don't care about what Mom thinks. But if Mom wants you to marry Su Liang, would you be willing? In order to please Mom, would you be willing to live with a man you don't love? Life is your own, and only you know if it's hot or cold. Sis, you have such a high IQ and EQ, but why can't you see your own story clearly? Jixin. Anyways, even if things are this bad, I still hope that you can persevere and protect your own happiness. Then, Jing Jixin patted Huamin's shoulder. Stop smoking. If you do it again, I'll cut ties with you. Huamin. I'm going to go buy some supper. Wait for me. After speaking, Jing Jixin walked towards the door. Huamin was crestfallen. Just as he was about to open the door and enter the room, he heard someone call his name. Why are you here? It was really unexpected to see Gao Ran at the hospital in the middle of the night. Qin Chu was just sent here for gastric bleeding. He's in the ER right now, Gao Ran said indifferently as he stared at Huamin's face. Upon hearing this, Huamin's eyes filled with fear. Chapter 421. Where is he now? He's in the emergency room downstairs, Gao Ran said coldly. Huamin didn't have time to think and ran downstairs. Doctor, how is he? Huamin panicked. For the first time, she felt fear in her heart. What if something happened to Qin Chu because of this? How was she going to live the rest of her life? The patient drank too much, causing gastric mucosa damage and massive bleeding. Fortunately, he was sent here in time. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. We've already taken measures to inject him with fluids. It seems like he needs to rest for a few days. Also, he needs to be on a liquid diet for the next few days. He needs to be hospitalized for a few weeks, a few attending doctors said to Huamin as they walked out. Huamin was relieved when she heard that everything was fine. Young people these days don't know how to cherish themselves. They drank so much. They were asking for death, the doctors chatted as they walked. Huamin felt terrible. She knew that Qin Chu was never an alcoholic. He never drank too much. Even when he was with important clients, he would only drink one glass. But this time, he drank until he had gastric bleeding. It must have something to do with her. She turned off her phone and didn't pick up his calls. She even said such harsh words to him. No wonder he was sad. Huamin followed the nurse and pushed Qin Chu all the way to the VIP room. Looking at his pale face, Huamin felt a dull pain in her heart. She regretted it very much. Why did she say such heartless words? She clearly didn't mean what she said. Qin Chu's mother was extremely annoying, but she couldn't vent her anger on Qin Chu. She was so smart, but she still neglected this point. She neglected her own importance in Qin Chu's heart. And Qin Chu's feelings for her over the past 7 years. Inside the room, Huamin held Qin Chu's hand. His fingers were white and slender, but at this moment, they were cold without any warmth. It made her heart ache to hold them. He looked very good sleeping with his eyes closed. His eyelashes were slightly curled. He was very quiet, like a child. I'm sorry. Huamian sniffed and almost cried. Just then, Gao Ran pushed the door open and asked, "How is he?" "He's fine. The doctor said he'll be fine after a few days of rest." "Come with me," Gao Ran said coldly. Huamian got up and tucked Qin Chu in before following Gao Ran out of the room. Do you know why he's like this, Mom? Gao Ran asked coldly. Huamin was silent. Do you know how much he loves you? Gao Ran asked again. Huamin was still silent. Huamian, we've known each other for a long time, and I think of you as a good friend, so I'll be frank with you. I know that you and Qin Chu are married, so you shouldn't fight over a little conflict. You're an adult, so don't be impulsive. Some words are like spilled water, and they're hurtful. I've known him for so many years, and he's a strong man with almost no weaknesses. But, 7 years ago, you became his weakness, and you had him under your thumb. I even think that he's obsessed with you, and you hurt him so deeply because of external factors. How can you bear to do that? How could you bear to hurt him like this? Huamin, I really want to know if you're a heartless woman. Or if you have a heart of stone. This was the first time Gao Ran had spoken so harshly. Huamin wasn't surprised at all. She listened quietly without any intention of retorting. Seeing that Huamin was still silent, Gao Ran felt depressed. He pulled out a cigarette from his pocket, lit it, and took a deep puff before asking, "You probably don't know why he didn't contact you after going to the States for 7 years." Upon hearing this, Huamin raised her head and looked at Gao Ran. She had a feeling that there was something that Gao Ran knew about, but she didn't. Why? She should have known why Qin Chu didn't contact her or come back to the States for 7 years if he loved her so much. If it weren't for the fact that Qin Chu didn't pick up his calls, he felt that something was wrong. So, he used the police station's computer to locate Qin Chu and went to Imperial Park to look for him. He wouldn't have known that Qin Chu had fainted from stomach bleeding. If no one found out, he really didn't know if he would be able to see his good friend the next morning. Huamin, I beg you, stop torturing him. Killing him is just a matter of time, can't you just give him a quick death? Huamin was sobbing so hard that he couldn't speak. Thank you for telling me so much. So, what are your plans? Gao Ran asked coldly. Huamin didn't answer directly, and Gao Ran didn't know what Huamin was thinking. However, judging from his reaction, Huamin probably cared a lot about Qin Chu, or else he wouldn't be crying like this. After the two finished talking, Gao Ran left the hospital in exhaustion. Huamin walked into the room and soaked a towel in warm water to wipe Qin Chu's face. After she was done, she picked up the towel and was about to soak it again when she got up. Suddenly, someone grabbed her hand, Mian. Qin Chu grabbed onto Huamin's wrist and weakly opened his eyes, calling out her name. Chapter 423. You're awake. Huamin's voice was extremely hoarse. Don't go. He held onto her hand tightly and refused to let go. His tone was a little coquettish. This was a side of Qin Chu that Huamin had never seen before. The Qin Chu she knew was arrogant, quiet, cold, and uninterested in anything other than her. Now, he was lying weakly on the hospital bed. His face was pale, and his lips were slightly purple. Everything about him looked so heartbreaking. I'm not leaving. Huamin turned around and sat down beside his bed. Mian. I'm really sorry for what my mother did. If I knew that she would be so extreme, I wouldn't have told my father about our marriage. I didn't think it through and caused your mother so much harm. Qin Chu's voice was weak, but his eyes were filled with sincerity. Huamin could tell that Qin Chu was sincerely apologizing on behalf of his mother. Forget it, you can't be blamed for what your mother did. After all, she's you, and you're her. You can't pay for what she did with your life. The law doesn't even allow a son to pay for a father's debt, let alone take responsibility for her mistake. Huamin calmed down a lot after sorting out her thoughts. Although she still felt guilty towards her mother, she wouldn't take her anger out on Qin Chu anymore. She could argue with Qin Chu's mother, but she couldn't continue to argue with Qin Chu because of this. After all, he was so good to her. Upon hearing Huamin's words, Qin Chu was quite surprised. He thought that Huamin would complain a lot, but she didn't. She didn't even want to hold him responsible for anything. So you don't blame me? Qin Chu looked at Huamin's face and asked in a low voice. Blame? Of course. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. Who made you drink so much wine? Do you know how dangerous you are? Gastric mucosa will fall off and bleed profusely. Severe gastric bleeding can kill you. Huamian's face was full of anger. She was angry that Qin Chu didn't care about his health. I know. Qin Chu smiled bitterly. He was also a medical student. How could he not know this? If you knew, why did you still do it? Do you want to die? Huamin angrily pulled his hand away from Qin Chu's. Helplessly, he held her tightly, and she couldn't break free. I only know that if we separate again, I will also die, Qin Chu said word by word. After hearing this, Huamin felt as if his heart had been pierced by many needles, and he felt a stinging pain. Her eyes were red as she looked at the haggard but unbelievably handsome man on the hospital bed. Qin Chu, are you stupid? Of course not, I think I'm very smart. You think you're smart? Huamin asked angrily. She didn't think that someone who played around with his life was smart. Because I married the smartest woman in the world. Huamin didn't say anything. She looked at Qin Chu with deep affection. She couldn't imagine how he had survived 7 years in a foreign country with only one belief. This man had sacrificed so much, but she had always been timid and worried about too many things. Jixin was right. How many years did she have to squander in her life? This time, she didn't want to run away from love. Huamin turned around and picked up the towel to gently wipe Qin Chu's face. Her movements were slow and gentle. Qin Chu raised his head and carefully looked at Huamin's face, as if he couldn't get enough of it. He told GK that he was out of town and hid the fact that he was hospitalized. Assistant Yang sent an endless stream of emails to his phone. Mian. Yeah. Why don't the two of us leave this place and start over somewhere where no one knows us? Upon hearing this, Huamin's hand, which was holding the towel, froze slightly. Chapter 424. How can I do that? If you leave, you'll no longer be the president of GK. If you're not the president anymore, who would still like you? Huamin joked. Mian, I'm serious, please think about it. Qin Chu had actually thought about a lot of things. In the short term, it didn't seem possible for his parents to accept Huamin, for Huamin to forgive his parents, for Yang Meirong to forgive him, or for him to resolve the grudge between the two families. Qin Chu thought that it would be better to take Huamin and leave. After a while, perhaps everything would fade away. Huamin still had his little brother and his mother. As long as they left enough money, they would be able to live a good life. As for his parents, he didn't have to worry about them. They had a chauffeur and a nanny at home. I don't want to leave, Huamin hesitated for a moment and said slowly. Then, she continued, I've lived here for more than 20 years. Here, I have my mother, my brother, Lingling, my job, and many of my close colleagues. I'm not young anymore, I'm not interested in anything new, so I don't want to live in a strange place. Let's just leave it at that. I know what you're worried about, but I believe that there will be a way. Right now, we just have to take one step at a time. Plus, after Uncle Jing passed away, it's already very difficult for my mother to raise my brother and me alone. I don't want to leave her and Jixin behind. That way, no matter how good my life is, I'll still feel uneasy. I didn't think it through, you're right. Upon hearing Huamin's words, Qin Chu nodded. Men and women always thought differently, and this had nothing to do with their nature. It was a matter of gender. For example, if a daughter gave her mother flowers or presents on her birthday, a boy might not even want to say happy birthday, but that didn't mean that he wasn't filial. It was just that boys were more careless and didn't care as much as girls, so they didn't think as much. No matter how smart and thoughtful Chin Chu was, he was still a man. He couldn't empathize with Huamin's subtle thoughts. After hearing what Huamin said, he was enlightened. Don't go to the company for the next few days. Stay here and don't leave the hospital, Huamin ordered. I got it, honey. Close your eyes and have a good sleep. It will help you recover your strength. Can you come up and lie beside me? Otherwise, I can't sleep. Mr. Chin, you're so pretentious. Huamin chuckled. I can't help it. I've been sleeping with you for the past few months. If you're not home, I'll lose sleep, Chin Chu said pitifully. Huamin had no choice. He washed his hands, took off his jacket, and carefully lay beside Chin Chu's bed. Fortunately, the bed in the VIP ward was big enough, so it wasn't too crowded for the two of them. Chin Chu hugged Huamin's waist with one hand and smelled her unique fragrance. At this moment, he felt inexplicably at ease. He slowly closed his eyes and fell into a deep sleep. Huamin looked closely at Chin Chu's side profile. His face was so beautiful even when he was sleeping. In the end, she couldn't resist and secretly kissed the tip of his nose. Don't seduce me at a time like this, I won't be able to control myself. Chin Chu suddenly said, scaring Huamin. Aren't you asleep? With my arms around you, how could I sleep? Chin Chu opened his eyes and looked at Huamin flirtatiously. Huamian immediately understood what he meant and blushed. Please, you're recuperating right now. Don't think about those things, okay? Huamin was speechless. Chapter 425. Can't I do it? Can't I even think about it? Chin Chu looked at Huamin with puppy eyes. Huamin's heart almost melted from his gaze. Luckily, she had strong willpower. Close your eyes and go to sleep, or else I'm leaving. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, Chin Chu obediently closed his eyes. In the morning, Huamin got up to buy breakfast for Chin Chu. As soon as he walked out of the door, he saw his assistant, Yang, holding a pile of documents at the door. Good morning. Seeing the CEO's woman, Xiao Yang immediately greeted her. Good morning. Huamin nodded. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly turned around and shouted, Hey, wait a second. Emichem. Yang turned around. Are those documents for Chin Chu? Emichem, yes. These are all documents that the company needs to deal with urgently. But he's very weak right now. Why don't you cut down some of these documents and pick the less important ones? Huamin felt bad for Chin Chu. He didn't want him to deal with so much work in the morning as if he was reviewing memorials. But Yang looked at the mountainous pile of documents with a troubled expression. To be honest, these were all rather urgent. He didn't know which ones were the most important. Miss Hua's request was really difficult for him. Before he could say anything, Huamin walked over and took away half of the documents in his hands. Ha! I'll keep these for now. I'll show them to him tomorrow. You can send them in first. Yang was completely confused. He thought that Miss Hua was being too stubborn. It's fine. If your president blames me, I'll take responsibility. Oh, okay. Yang could only nod at Huamin's words. Then, Huamin locked the documents in a safe in the hospital and went out to buy breakfast for Chin Chu. Is this all the documents I have today? Chin Chu was lying on the hospital bed. He was on an 4 drip while reading the company documents. Yang said vaguely. What's going on? Chin Chu asked Assistant Yang, sensing that something was wrong. Miss Hua, she took half of it. She said too much and didn't want to tire you out. Assistant Yang gritted his teeth and decided to side with the president and betray Hua Min. Mian took it. Chin Chu froze for a second, then the corners of his mouth rose slightly. Although he didn't see it with his own eyes, he could imagine how domineering Hua Min was when he snatched the information away. Miss Hua, of course she cares about you. After all, she's your girlfriend, Assistant Yang said with a smile. Chin Chu frowned slightly. What girlfriend? She's my wife. Wife? Gaw. Assistant Yang was completely stunned. Legal husband and wife, do you understand? Watch your words in the future. What Miss Hua? She's a young lady. Little Yang, early in the morning, the president announced the news to him without warning, so he didn't have time to digest the box of chives he ate in the morning. Sir, when did you get married? Why didn't you notice at all? Assistant Yang looked at Chin Chu, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Luckily, he was smart enough to never offend Miss Hua. Otherwise, the president's wife would kill him. She could fire him at any time. We've been married for more than 4 months. Chin Chu said slowly. More than 4 months. Let me see. Didn't you just come back not long ago? What's wrong? Chin Chu asked with a dark expression. Sir, you're so good at hiding your marriage. Assistant Yang flattered. When Hua Min came back, Chin Chu was still working. She put down the breakfast in her hands. Then, she took the breakfast upstairs to her mother's room. At the door, she handed Jixin a set of breakfast. Is Mom awake? Hua Min asked anxiously. Yeah, she's awake. Go in, it's okay. Jixin patted the back of his sister's hand encouragingly. Hua Min took a deep breath and pushed the door open with the breakfast. Mom, you're awake. Yang Meirong glanced at Hua Min. She didn't say anything, but her gaze was bone-chilling. Chapter 426. Mom. I know you're angry with me. You can yell at me or hit me if you want, as long as you don't get too angry. What a joke. What's the point of yelling at you and hitting you? Is there anything I can do to stop you from being with that brat from the Qin family? I've warned you again and again, but you've ignored me. Hua Min. I've raised you for more than 20 years, did I raise you into an enemy? For the first time, Yang Meirong didn't yell at Hua Min, but every word she said was harsh. No, Mom. Between me and Chin Chu, I don't want to hear about your relationship. You're all grown up, and I can't control you. I just think that your Uncle Jing died in vain. How could you be with the person who killed him? What a joke. Yang Meirong tilted her head and said coldly, refusing to look at Hua Min. Mom. Uncle Jing's death has nothing to do with Chin Chu. We can't blame him for it. That's not fair. Then someone from my family died. Who can give me a fair explanation? Yang Meirong raised her voice and roared. Mom, calm down. The dead can't be brought back to life, what? Are you trying to persuade me to accept the Qin family now? Let me tell you, Hua Min, you're dreaming. I'll never have a daughter like you. Whether you live or die, whether you marry into a rich family or live on the streets, it has nothing to do with me. I just regret that I didn't listen to you and get an abortion. I gave birth to a scourge like you. Judging from Yang Meirong's tone, she didn't doubt that Hua Mian was her biological daughter at all. But, Mom, which hospital were you in when you gave birth to me? Hua Min suddenly asked. Does it have anything to do with that? No, the hospital is doing a survey, so I want to know where you were born. Yang Meirong didn't say anything. Huamin didn't dare to continue asking. He carefully took out the porridge and placed it on the table. Then, he carefully peeled the egg. At that time, I ran to Dong Tao Town to avoid the media and reporters. I gave birth to you at the town's clinic. Dong Tao Town. Huamin remembered this town. It was less than 100 miles away from Sea City. It was a small town with a small population. She didn't understand why her mother wanted to go there. Yes, because Dong Tao Town is your Uncle Jing's hometown and he has many relatives there. Moreover, he knows everyone in the medical center, so he went there, Yang Meirong said slowly as she recalled the scene when she gave birth to Huamin. Huamin thought for a moment and asked, then, when you gave birth to me, did any other pregnant women give birth to babies? I'm not sure, because I had a difficult labor. I was exhausted and barely conscious, so I didn't know what was going on at the hospital. However, after you were born, we immediately left. Your Uncle Jing said that the environment there wasn't good, so he told me to go home and recuperate. Uncle Jing asked you and me to leave the hospital immediately. Oh, I see. Do you still remember the doctor who helped you deliver the baby? Yes, she's a doctor with the surname Lon. She's a woman in her 40s, probably in her 60s now. She's quite famous in the area. She delivered me, and your Uncle Jing even gave her a red packet of 20 yuan. 20 years ago, 20 yuan was still quite a lot. Huamian lowered her head as she thought about it in silence. What's wrong? Did something happen over there? Yang Meirong felt that Huamin was acting a little strange today. Oh, nothing, I was just asking. Oh right, did Uncle Jing mention that incident to you? For example, did anything special happen? Huamin thought that if there was something wrong with his birth, then there was only one person who would know, and that was Uncle Jing. However, he was no longer alive, so there was no way to verify it. That's not true. He never mentioned it, and I never asked about it. Upon hearing his mother's words, Huamin was slightly disappointed that Uncle Jing didn't say anything. Mom, eat something. Huamin handed her an egg. I just want to ask you one thing, are you never going to leave that brat from the Qin family? Yang Meirong didn't reach out to take the egg. Instead, she glared angrily at Huamin. Chapter 427. Mom. Qin Chu and I are already married. What did you say? Yang Meirong's eyes widened as she asked, enunciating each word clearly. Huamin felt like he couldn't hide this any longer. Since a lot of people already knew, he might as well tell his mother the truth as soon as possible. Otherwise, if Qin Chu's mother went crazy and caused trouble again, wouldn't his mother be hurt again? We're already married. We got our marriage certificate 4 months ago. Crack. A slap came flying at Huamin. Huamin's reflexes were extremely fast, she could have dodged it. But she didn't, she took her mother's slap just like that. Perhaps his mother was too angry, so she used a lot of force. The slap made Huamin's ears ring. You bitch. I really should have killed you. Yang Meirong was furious at Huamin's incompetence. She didn't feel any relief from the slap, so she continued to slap him. Huamin had no intention of dodging, and he continued to wait for the slap to fall. Just then, Jixin pushed open the door and grabbed his mother's hand. Mom, what are you doing? Why did you hit my sister? Ask her what she did. Yang Meirong angrily pointed at Huamin and asked. Jing Jixin looked at his sister, his eyes slightly distressed. I already told Mom about my marriage to Qin Chu. Jing Jixin obviously wasn't surprised at all. He took his mother's hand, sat down on the bed, and slowly said, Mom, I already knew about this. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to scold my sister. What? You already knew. Yes. Great, you two are both rebelling, aren't you? I worked so hard to raise you two, and this is how you repay me. I really have a hard life. I don't want to live anymore. If only Ada was still alive. He should see what kind of stupid things the son and daughter he was so proud of have done. Yang Meirong said as she cried. Mom. Let me say something. All these years, after my dad passed away, you've had a hard time raising us. You've had to run a small supermarket and live a tight life. But my sister has also had a hard time. 7 years ago, she gave up the opportunity to go abroad and study at the best medical school in Jing City. She chose to stay here and study at a third-rate medical school. Wasn't it all because that school waived all her tuition fees and gave her a scholarship? She wanted to reduce the burden on our family, so she worked part-time to pay for my education. The living expenses you give me every month are actually not enough. Every time I say that I'm saving money, it's actually my sister who's secretly helping me. Even now, she still takes out her salary every month to give you and me a little. She's already 24 years old this year, but she never thinks about herself. Isn't she just trying to make up for what she did all those years ago? My dad's been dead for so long, don't bring it up and make things difficult for us. Over the years, you've worked hard, my sister has worked hard, and I've seen the two of you work even harder. We've all worked hard. It's not easy for a family to be together, and we don't have many opportunities to spend time together. Why do you have to make things like this? It's fate that brought her into this family. Why do you have to make it seem like you hate her so much? You can't morally blackmail her, Mom. Even I know that she's only liked Chin Chu all these years. Why do you have to make things difficult for her? Do you only feel good when she's unhappy? After Yang Meirong heard what Jing Jixin said, she was shocked and didn't say anything for a long time. He seemed to have touched something deep in her heart. 7 years ago, my sister was only 17 years old, and she had to shoulder so many things. She gave up her bright future to take care of this family with you. She's already done a great job. Everyone makes mistakes, not to mention that it was Big Bro Chin Chu's family that did it. Why should they shoulder it? Chapter 428. Stop it, that's enough. Yang Meirong couldn't take it anymore and yelled angrily. No, I have to say it. If I don't, you'll always think that my sister owes us 8 million yuan. Every time something happens, you use my dad's death to provoke her. Anyways, I support my sister's happiness. As for the grudge between the two families, that's between you and your grandmother. I don't care how you deal with it, but don't put my sister and Chin Chu in a pinch. You're just a kid, what do you know? I'm not a kid, I'm 19. I know everything. Anyways. Mom, don't treat my sister like that. Otherwise, I'll go south after graduation and never come back. This family will be over. Then, Jing Jixin sighed, his face full of melancholy. You. Yang Meirong didn't expect her son to be so protective of his sister. She was so angry that she couldn't say anything. Jixin. Huamin's eyes were full of emotions. Sis, your ear is bleeding. Jing Jixin walked over with heartache. He looked at Huamin's injured cheek and asked. I'm fine. Huamin wiped his cheek with his hand and found traces of blood. No, let's go. We have to find a doctor and get it bandaged. Before Huamin could say anything, Jing Jixin grabbed his sister's hand and dragged her away. Before he left, he didn't forget to say to his mother, Mom, think about what I just said. Also, don't hit my sister again, or I won't love you anymore. Yang Meirong was speechless. Jing Jixin was a very obedient boy. He matured earlier than other boys and had a calmer heart. He rarely said things that hurt his family, and his heart was extremely pure. He knew how to be grateful for Huomin's love and care. He didn't want to squander it too much. He would save some of the money that Huomin gave him, and when his sister got married, he would give it to her as a congratulatory gift. Yang Meirong felt bad for hitting Huomin. However, she was still angry at the fact that Huomin was married to that kid from the Qin family. Walking out of the room, Jing Jixin angrily looked at Huomin. "Sis, are you stupid? What's wrong?" Huomin was puzzled. "Don't you know how to dodge when your mom hits you? You're just standing there like a block of wood. Won't she be even angrier if I run away? Why don't you just let her hit you to vent her anger? You're really stubborn. You have to learn that a wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. You still don't know Mom's temper. Although her temper is bad and her mouth is not good, her heart is not that hard. You have to learn to show weakness and let Mom feel sorry for you. You're smart." Huomin smiled and pinched Jixin's nose. "Obstetric infirmary, senior sister, you have to be careful when you wash your face these few days. Don't let it get wet. Your eardrums are a little damaged." Huang Yu used a searchlight and small tweezers to carefully disinfect Huomin's face. "Yes. Jixin, don't you have classes for the next few days? Why don't you go back to school? I can take a few days off to help my senior sister take care of your mom." Huang Yu glanced at Jing Jixin, who was standing beside her. "It's okay. There aren't many classes at school. With me here, my sister can relax a little." "Oh right, let's add each other on WeChat. I see that my senior sister always reposts funny things from your WeChat moments. Send me more in the future." Then, Huang Yu took out her phone. "Sure, give me your QR code. I'll scan it." Jing Jixin obviously didn't think much of it. Huomin covered his slightly painful ear and looked at Huang Yu with a complicated expression. However, she didn't say anything. After the bandage was done, Huomin received a call from Zhu Lingling, saying that she and Gao Ran were visiting Qin Chu in his room. Huomin had no choice but to go downstairs and enter the room. Before he could say anything, he heard Qin Chu ask worriedly, "Mian, what happened to your face?" Huomin touched his slightly swollen face and licked his lips. Chapter 429. Someone hit you, what happened to you? Oh my god, who would have the guts to hit you? Zhu Lingling put down her handbag, walked over, and touched Huomin's face, making a big fuss out of nothing. "Come here." Qin Chu waved his hand at Huomin. Huomin slowly walked over. Qin Chu took her hand and sat on the edge of the bed. Then, he reached out his warm hand and gently touched the bruise on her cheek. He knew that her mother must have hit her. There was no need to ask, it was definitely because of him. Qin Chu's heart ached. It was better for him to get hurt than for Huomin to get hurt. Otherwise, the pain in his heart would be even more devastating. "Hey, okay, stop it if you're sick. Don't torture us single people. We're here to visit you, not to see you guys being lovey-dovey," Gao Ran joked. When he saw Qin Chu in the morning, he knew that Huomin had made a choice when he saw how much better Qin Chu looked. Luckily, this woman wasn't completely heartless and didn't completely ignore how well Qin Chu treated her. Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran chatted for a long time before they put down the flowers and fruits. The two of them were about to leave. "Aren't you guys going to stay for dinner?" Huomin asked with a smile. "No, the food in the hospital cafeteria is horrible. We can order takeout." "No, the room smells like formalin, I'm not in the mood." "Forget it, I'll go find some street food and eat some hot and sour noodles. As she spoke, Zhu Lingling walked out. Gao Ran quietly followed behind. I haven't had hot and sour noodles in a while, I'll grab a bowl on the way. You don't want hot and sour noodles, you want to eat Zhu Lingling, right? Hua Min asked half-jokingly. Gao Ran suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Zhu Lingling was so angry that she secretly pinched Hua Min's shoulder. What nonsense are you talking about? I realize that you're almost as good as the paparazzi. You're really good at spreading rumors. I'm joking. Why are you so nervous? Could it be that you too? There's nothing between the two of us. We're pure and innocent, whiter than tofu, Zhu Lingling immediately explained. Gao Ran didn't say anything. In the end, he followed Zhu Lingling silently. You know how awkward they are, yet you still tease them. Aren't you afraid that they will explode? Qin Chu smiled. Don't worry. Gao Ran is a little shy, so he won't explode. As for Lingling, I've known her since she was a child, and she's never exploded at me. It's possible that she'll explode at someone else. Hua Min closed the door, walked in, and poured a cup of warm water for Qin Chu. Drink some water, the house is a bit dry. Mian, your face. Qin Chu didn't ask directly because there were other people in the house. Now that Gao Ran and the others were gone, he looked at Hua Min's slightly swollen cheek with heartache. He felt terrible. Oh, it's nothing. My mom slapped me. Hua Min smiled. She didn't even dare to tell Qin Chu that her eardrum was injured. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to eat or sleep well. How could he be thinking about this? Next time, tell your mom to hit me. Don't touch my wife. It's fine. It doesn't hurt. I'm not that unreasonable. Compared to Qin Chu's 7-year promise, Hua Min felt that his mother's slap was nothing. It was just a flesh wound. Fortunately, Jixin stepped up and helped her out in time. Although she wasn't sure if his words were effective on his mother, Hua Mian still cared about Jixin. She could tell that Jixin was trying his best to protect his sister, even at the expense of falling out with his mother. It seemed like she didn't dote on her brother for nothing after all these years. However, junior sister Huang Yu seemed to like Jixin. Hua Min wasn't sure, but she didn't dare to say. She felt like he was being too nice to her. Maybe she was just overthinking things. Honey, yeah. Qin Chu slowly drank his water and listened to Hua Min talk to him. I feel like my background is a bit strange. I don't think I'm Hu Xinghai's daughter, nor am I my mom's daughter. Yeah. Qin Chu put down his cup and was slightly surprised. Chapter 430. Hua Min never told anyone about her parentage, not even Jixin or Lingling. However, at this moment, she was confessing to Qin Chu, which showed how important Qin Chu was to her. Then, Hua Min told him everything. After hearing this, Qin Chu was silent for a long time. Are you sure that Hu Xinghai's blood type and your mother's blood type are both correct? I'm sure, it's all recorded in the hospital's medical records. Then, it seems like they really didn't give birth to you, and you're not Uncle Jing's child. Otherwise, could it be that your mother had other lovers that she never told you about? Hua Min shook her head. Although I never asked her, I don't think so. When I was born, my mother was desperately in love with Hu Xinghai, so she was pregnant with me. From her tone, she didn't know that I wasn't her daughter. After I was born, Hu Xinghai didn't recognize me, so Uncle Jing had the opportunity to be with my mother. Then, she gave birth to Jixin, so the timeline was very tight. In other words, other than Hu Xinghai, there was only Uncle Jing, his driver. There was no time for another man, so it doesn't make sense that my mother had other men. Qin Chu nodded. If that's the case, then, there's only one possibility. Something must have gone wrong with the hospital where you were born. Yeah, that's what I thought too. When I have time, I plan to look into that hospital and the doctor who delivered my mother. Maybe there were too many babies when I was born, so there was a mistake or something. That's possible, so, you might have biological parents in this world who are actually related to you. Huamin nodded. She actually thought that it was quite magical. She used to think that she was the illegitimate daughter of the Hua family. Who would have thought that the plot would turn around and she would know whose child she was? What happened at the hospital in Dongtao Town? Did her parents look for her all these years? Or rather, they didn't even know that she existed. Huamin had a strange feeling when she thought that her biological parents might be living near Dongtao Town. That kind of feeling was hard to describe. In any case, it was mystical. It seemed to be an inexplicable bond. It was like knowing that in a certain corner of the world, there was someone living with the same blood as you, but you didn't know who that person was. Huamin leaned against Qin Chu's chest and asked slowly, "If I find my birth parents, they are farmers, the most honest farmers. Will you mind? What about you? Would you mind?" Qin Chu asked. "No, even if they're just picking up trash, I won't mind." "Then, if you don't mind, why would I mind? But have you ever thought about it? If your biological parents were important figures of noble status, would you accept it?" "I don't think so. In a small place like Dongtao Town, it's impossible," Huamin denied with a smile. "It's hard to say. After all, God always arranges for the most miraculous encounters and fate, just like you and me." Huamin sighed slightly. Qin Chu was right. If the accident at the hospital didn't happen, she wouldn't have followed Yang Meirong to Sea City, and she wouldn't have gone to second high school. How would she have met the man she loved the most in her life? Deep in love, Huamin suddenly had an idea. As soon as the idea popped up, even she was shocked. She rested her head on Qin Chu's arm and quietly said, "Honey, let's have a child, okay?" "What did you say?" Qin Chu thought that he was hallucinating, so he asked uncertainly. Chapter 431. "It's fine if you can't hear me, I won't say it twice." Huamin purposely buried her head under Qin Chu's armpit. "Honey, say it one more time. Please, say it one more time." Qin Chu couldn't suppress his excitement. He pulled Huamin out of his arms and held her pretty face in his hands. He was almost begging her. "I said, let's have a child. I don't know where I came from, and I don't want our child to be like that. I want our child to know who her father is and who her mother is. I want to give her all of our love. Honey, that's the most touching thing you've said in all the years I've known you." Qin Chu was extremely excited as he tightly hugged Huamin's waist. So, it's time for us to get down to business," Qin Chu said meaningfully. "What business?" Huamin didn't know how to react. Qin Chu nimbly slid his hand under her collar. "What are you doing?" Huamin's body trembled. "Honey, I'm not feeling well right now. Why don't you do it on top?" Get lost. Huamin didn't think that Qin Chu would think something so dirty when he was being so serious. "I'm being serious, stop messing around." "I'm not messing around, I'm just playing along with you. Don't you want a child? Then shouldn't we have sex more often?" Qin Chu looked innocent. Huamin, just as the two were flirting with each other, someone knocked on the door. Qin Chu's face darkened. It couldn't be the doctor checking on him. He told them that the doctor could only come in before dinner every day, so they didn't need to disturb him. "Come in." "Sir, there's an urgent document from the company that needs your signature." "Ha." Yang walked in timidly. Huamin immediately stood up with a red face and adjusted his collar. how could he ruin such an intimate scene? Little Yang felt like he was going to be in trouble. Hello, a young lady. Seeing Huamin pass by, Yang immediately flattered her with a smile. I'll go to the bathroom first. You guys talk. Huamin left awkwardly. After Huamin left, Qin Chu took the document from Xiao Yang with a dark face. He looked at it and signed it. I'll deduct all of your bonus for this month, Qin Chu suddenly said. Yang immediately cried, Boss, please don't. I didn't do it on purpose, you did it on purpose, I'm not. In all honesty, how would I know that you guys would do this kind of thing in broad daylight? Before Yang could finish his sentence, he realized that he had misspoken again. What do you mean by doing such a thing in broad daylight? Qin Chu continued with a dark expression, next month's salary will be deducted as well. The corner of Assistant Yang's mouth twitched, and he almost started foaming at the mouth. Being an assistant really wasn't easy. No one was more torturous than being the assistant to GK's president. When Yang walked out of the door, he saw Huamin come back. A young lady. Yeah. Huamin nodded. A young lady, please save me. I'm here to repay you. A young lady, please put in a good word for me in front of the president. What's going on? Huamin was confused. After hearing what Yang said, Huamin only smiled slightly. Don't worry, he's just trying to scare you. He won't do it. What if it's true? If it's true, I'll give you a bonus out of my own pocket. Don't worry. A young lady, you're a living Buddha. Yang was extremely excited. Okay, go back to the company. Huamin sent Yang away. Just as he was about to enter his room, he heard someone call his name. President Wu. Huamin was surprised to see who it was. Chapter 432. I heard that Dr. Qin is hospitalized here, so I came to visit. President Wu was wearing a white lab coat, and his wooden male assistant followed behind him. Please come in. Huamin had a feeling that President Wu knew about her relationship with Qin Chu, even though he never mentioned it. When President Wu went in to visit Qin Chu, Huamin felt that it wasn't convenient for him, so he took the time to go upstairs and visit his mother. He had been crazy busy recently. Luckily, there were people at Southside, or else he wouldn't have been able to take so many days off. After eating with Jixin upstairs, Huamin went to the OB/GYN to find Huang Yu and the others. However, he ran into Wu Xiaoxue, whom he hadn't seen in a few days. She was very happy to see Huamin. Huamin. Why are you here? Aren't you on vacation? Huamin remembered that Wu Xiaoxue was on vacation because she wasn't feeling well. I went to Jing City and came back. The baby is fine, the doctor said that the flesh on the head can be absorbed and won't affect the baby. That's great, you can rest assured now. Okay, let's go, I'll treat you to dinner. After speaking, Wu Xiaoxue pulled Huamin and walked out. Hey, don't, I just finished eating. My mother is upstairs in the hospital, and my brother and I just ate some cold noodles. I'm not hungry at all. I see, it's rare to see you, I wanted to treat you to dinner. You don't have to be so polite, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Huamin was very happy about Wu Xiaoxue's change in attitude. Although she had a bad temper, at least she had a good heart and didn't have the guts to hurt others. She was different from He-Man. I'm going to do an ultrasound, talk to you later. After saying goodbye to Huamin, Wu Xiaoxue left. Huang Yu looked at Huamin in disbelief. Mian, what's going on? Is Wu Xiaoxue possessed by a ghost? Ever since I saved her last time, she doesn't hate me as much anymore. At least she has a conscience. This woman. But she's really unlucky. She's just gotten married and she's already like this. Ning Ziyuan is really a scumbag. You're right to break up with him. Hua Min smiled. He did not ask further, nor did he comment. Senior sister, do you know that Ning Ziyuan and He-Man are together again? Wu Xiaoxue probably doesn't know about it, otherwise she would have already stomped her feet. I heard it from a nurse in another department. That woman has a pretty good relationship with He-Man. She often sees Ning Ziyuan's car outside He-Manjia's building. So disgusting. Ning Ziyuan, this scumbag, is having an affair after marriage. If the Wu family knew about it, let's see if he can still stay in the hospital. Huang Yu rattled off a bunch of things, but Hua Min wasn't very interested. She no longer had any feelings towards Ning Ziyuan. Qin Chu stayed in the hospital for 5 whole days. He was supposed to stay for 2 more days, but he was too busy. In the end, he had no choice but to leave the hospital early. Hua Min also returned to work at South Side. After his mother was discharged, she went straight home to recuperate. Hua Min would occasionally drive home to buy groceries. However, her attitude was still cold, but Hua Min was already satisfied. He thought that with his mother's personality, she would have cut off all ties with him. Jixin's words the other day probably had a lot of effect. At noon, Hua Min went back to his office after lunch. He took out his phone and casually browsed through his WeChat moments. He saw that Jixin had just posted a status. He wrote, "Time used to be slow. Cars, horses, and emails all used to be slow. You had to wait a few days for a greeting. Love used to be slow as well. You had to wait a lifetime for someone, and you only had enough time to love one person." Below was a picture of a misty rain in Jiangnan. It was extremely artistic. Actually, this wasn't a big deal, but the strange thing was that Jixin wouldn't easily post something related to love. Most of his posts were chicken soup for the soul. They were either inspirational or funny. He would even get angry when he encountered something unfair, but he would never moan about love for no reason. Before Hua Min could think about it, he saw Huang Yu like the post. Then, she instantly deleted it. Liking the post wasn't a big deal, but deleting it after liking it was a bit strange. After thinking about it, Hua Min sent a WeChat message to Jixin. "How far have you and Huang Yu progressed?" Chapter 433. Nothing special, we're just normal friends. Sis, why are you suddenly asking this? Hua Min wasn't satisfied with Jixin's reply. She felt like Jixin wasn't telling the truth. She had seen how passionate Huang Yu was towards Jixin. Huang Yu was 21, and Jixin was 19. They weren't that far apart in age, but one was still a student, and the other had already entered society. This was a difficult thing to do. Plus, Hua Min didn't want Jixin to fall in love too early. He was a man, and he had to have a stable income before he could fall in love, right? Nothing, I just wanted to say, you haven't graduated yet, and your future is uncertain. If you get into a relationship too early, it'll be unstable, and it'll only add to your sadness. Sis, I understand what you mean. Good. After persuading Jixin, Hua Min didn't say anything else. After all, Jixin had his own judgment. Plus, if Jixin really liked Huang Yu, she probably wouldn't be able to persuade him otherwise. Huang Yu was a nice, passionate, and innocent girl. However, Hua Min didn't think that 2 innocent people would be suitable for this realistic society. After all, love wasn't about living in a fairy tale world forever. Reality was cruel. GK's office of the president, Qin Chu, hadn't returned to the old manor for many days, nor did he call his mother. Most of the time, when his mother called, he wouldn't pick up because he knew what she was going to say. Lady Qin had no choice but to ask the driver to drive her to GK headquarters. "Sir, the president's wife is here," Yang reported. "Got it." Qin Chu replied as he reviewed the documents in his hands. Chu, why didn't you pick up my call? As soon as she walked in, she began to interrogate her son. I was busy. That's impossible. That little vixen must be bothering you and not letting you pick up my call, right? Qin Chu helplessly raised his head and looked at his mother. Mom, don't blame everything on Huamin. She's not bothering me, I've been bothering her. You useless fellow, you still have the nerve to say that. Son, you're so eligible. What kind of woman can't we find? I want Huamin. Qin Chu's tone was firm. I don't agree. Lady Qin's attitude was also firm. I don't need your permission. You. Lady Qin was so angry that her face turned pale. Chu, I've already found a lawyer. We'll file for divorce in a while, okay? Yes. Mother will definitely choose a woman who is 100 times better than her and 1,000 times prettier than her. Divorce is impossible, Mom, don't interfere in my affairs, or you'll never see me again. I'll take her away from here and emigrate abroad. Are you threatening me? Lady Qin stared at her son with wide eyes. All these years, no matter how overboard she was, her son was not willing to say anything overboard to her. After all, she was his biological mother. But Qin Chu was very angry at his mother for treating Huamin and Huamin's family this time. If you think so, then so be it. Also, you'd better accept Mian, because you're going to have a grandchild soon, what? Lady Qin felt blood rush to her head and almost fainted. That woman wants to use her son's status to increase. She wants to give birth to another child so that she can share the Qin family's assets. There's no need to share, I'll give her everything I have, Qin Chu replied in all seriousness. Oh my God, you're crazy, completely crazy. What kind of curse did that woman cast on you? Why are you so crazy? Mom. I'm very clear-headed, you're too extreme. Chu, don't force Mom, or else. I'll make that woman disappear from this world, do you believe me? Lady Qin was furious and went straight to the point. Qin Chu's expression changed slightly upon hearing this. Chapter 434. Mom, if you're so determined, then I'm telling you, if something happens to Huamin, I'll disappear with him. You'll lose me forever. Lady Qin didn't expect her son to be so deeply poisoned. Qin Chu, do you know what you're saying? Lady Qin was hysterical. Very clearly. You actually want to die for a woman. Yes, if you don't believe me, you can try. Oh my God, the son I raised for more than 20 years is saying that he wants to die for a woman. Lady Qin suddenly felt like the sky was falling down on her. Don't give Huamin a hard time, I'll never be separated from him. Mom, this is the last time I'm giving you this advice. After speaking, Qin Chu pressed the intercom. Assistant Yang pushed open the door and walked in. Sir, what are your orders? Send Mrs. President out. Yes. Also, her health isn't very good, don't let her come to the office anymore, it's too stressful. Yes. Assistant Yang could tell that the president had ordered his mother to be blacklisted. Although he was surprised, he still obediently nodded. Lady Qin's expression couldn't even be described as ugly. When she walked out of the company, she happened to see Jiang Linyue. The truth was, they didn't run into each other every time, but every time Jiang Linyue heard that Mrs. President was coming, she would create a chance encounter. She wanted to create more opportunities for them to interact. Since she couldn't do it through the president, she could only do it through his mother. Madam, when did you get here? Have you eaten yet? Jiang Linyue asked hypocritically. Lady Qin was in a fit of anger, and when she saw Jiang Linyue, she became even angrier. You useless woman, I thought you had some skills, but who would have thought? You're also a good-for-nothing. Madam. Jiang Linyue froze at the scolding, not knowing what she did wrong. Do you know about my son and that woman? You're just hiding it from me, right? No, I didn't. Jiang Linyue immediately denied it. She was afraid that she would leave a bad impression on Mrs. President. Then you don't even know about their marriage? Lady Qin asked coldly. What? Jiang Linyue was completely dumbfounded. I didn't know you were so useless. You're not as well informed as I am. I really misjudged you. After speaking, Lady Qin ignored Jiang Linyue and walked out. She originally thought that Jiang Linyue was quite smart and should be properly trained, but she didn't expect her to be nothing more than a decorative vase. He didn't have any abilities at all, so she didn't know a lot of information. When Jiang Linyue heard that Qin Chu was married to that woman, she felt terrible. He felt as if he had been struck by lightning, and his heart was unable to calm down for a long time. With Qin Chu's status, he wouldn't easily get married. Once he did, it would only prove that the woman was very important to him. Jiang Linyue suddenly felt like all her years of hard work had gone down the drain. Lady Qin couldn't harass her son. She was angry and didn't go home directly. Instead, she went to Southside Recuperation Center. Huamin was about to get off work when she saw Lady Qin standing in front of her office door as she came out of the changing room. She was going to walk right past her and not talk to her. Stop right there. Lady Qin yelled angrily. Are you talking to me? Who else could it be? You uneducated brat, you sure have guts. Lady Qin looked at Huamin and said through gritted teeth. Sorry, I'm not an uneducated brat. If you're talking to me, then, please call me Lady Qin. After all, Qin Chu and I are legally married. Huamin smiled slightly. Lady Qin's expression changed drastically when she heard this. It was indescribably ugly. Chapter 435. What? If you're Lady Qin, then what am I? You're also Lady Qin, but you're Mrs. Qin's wife. Lady Qin's face turned green with anger when she emphasized the word old. You're indeed an uneducated piece of shit, all you can say is such despicable things. Huamin retorted coldly, an educated person wouldn't say the words uneducated all the time. It's obvious who's the uneducated one here. What do you mean by that? I mean it literally. I'm going to rip your mouth apart. Lady Qin was still very fierce. She lunged at Huamin, but Huamin dodged her. Then, the bodyguard behind her stepped forward again. Don't you dare touch me. I'm Qin Chu's wife, Huamin said coldly. Of course, the bodyguard knew who Qin Chu was, so he didn't dare to act rashly when it came to family disputes. Don't be afraid of her, beat her up, Lady Qin ordered. The tall and strong bodyguard walked towards Huamin. Huamin stepped back. She knew that this bodyguard was the big, dumb guy who pushed her mother down last time. He was Lady Qin's dog. If she told him to go east, he wouldn't dare to go west. Just as the bodyguard was about to reach her, Huamin suddenly lifted her foot and kicked the bodyguard's groin. Perhaps he wasn't prepared, but Huamin was fast. She hit him right on the head. The big, dumb bodyguard covered his groin in pain. This kick is revenge for my mother. If I see you bullying the elderly again, I'll cripple you. After speaking, Huamin clapped her hands and walked away. She completely ignored Lady Qin's farce. Huamin now not only felt that Qin Chu's mother was hateful, but he also felt that she was a mentally ill old lady. Although the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law were natural enemies, after all, they both liked the same man. It was inevitable that they would be jealous. But it wasn't as perverted as this. When they arrived home, Qin Chu had already prepared dinner. It was black pepper beef spaghetti, Huamin's favorite flavor. There was also fruit salad, French fries, and champagne. Did you do it all by yourself? Yes, I made this salad dressing myself because I always feel that the ones sold in the supermarket are not authentic enough. Try it. Chin-Chu smiled as he took the bag from Huamin's hands. He thoughtfully took off her slippers and placed them on the ground. Honey, thank you for your hard work, not at all. After all, my wife is preparing for pregnancy. Huamin was speechless. Well, she really regretted telling Chin-Chu about having children. This guy had been talking about it every day. After changing into loungewear upstairs, the two of them sat across from each other at the dining table. Your mom went to South Side to look for me today. Huamin asked calmly. Did she cause trouble again? Yes, but she didn't succeed. She was pissed off by me. Not many people can take advantage of you. Chin-Chu chuckled. That's right. That stupid bodyguard even gave me a kick. That's revenge for my mother. Next time, let me deal with a man. It's okay, I can handle it myself, Huamin said as he took a sip of champagne. Wow, this is delicious. What brand is it? You probably haven't heard of it. It's not a big brand. It's one of my favorite flavors. So, Mr. Chin, you brought me spaghetti, salad, and champagne. Do you have a favor to ask of me? One who is unaccountably solicitous must be hiding evil intentions, Huamin asked with a smile. If I have to say what I want, then I want to eat so I can have a baby. Ahem, ahem, ahem. Huamian was speechless upon hearing him say it out loud. Chin-Chu, you're so perverted. Didn't you bring this up first? Honey, Chin-Chu said innocently. Chapter 436. So you're not going to let go of this topic, right? It's like this before the baby is born. Huamin was speechless. Fine, you win. She really didn't know what to say in the face of Chin-Chu's shamelessness and cuteness. After dinner, Chin-Chu washed the dishes as usual. Huamin felt like she really didn't have the talent to do housework, at least not in front of Chin-Chu. She couldn't mop the floor as fast as him and couldn't wash the dishes as cleanly as him. Even the food she cooked wasn't as good as his. Of course, that was limited to Western food. Therefore, her Mr. Chin was a perfect husband who could do anything. He could be in the living room and in the kitchen. After Chin-Chu finished, he curled up on the sofa with Huamin and watched a boring cartoon. The two ate potato chips and chatted. Do you think your mom wants to hate me for the rest of her life? Why do you say that? Chin-Chu looked down and asked softly. The internet says that mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law are natural enemies. For example, a mother-in-law played a video game and kept a fake account for many years. Eventually, she had all the equipment she needed, but her account was suddenly hacked by someone called her daughter-in-law. Do you think she would feel good about that? Honey, where did you hear that? Chin-Chu was surprised. It's all from the internet. Also, do you know why grandmothers usually like their granddaughters-in-law? I don't know. Chin-Chu shook his head. After chewing the potato chips in her mouth, Huamin slowly said, That's because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Okay, honey, you win this time. Chin-Chu couldn't help but exclaim at the power of the internet. Although Huamin's words were funny, they actually made sense. The two chatted until 9 o'clock. Finally, Huamin felt sleepy. Chin-Chu carried her all the way to the bedroom on the second floor. After filling the bathtub with water, Chin-Chu came out and called Huamin, Honey, the water is ready. We can take a bath now. Okay. Huamin walked in a daze. Before she could react, Chin-Chu pushed her into the bathroom. Before they could take off their bathrobes, they were drenched by the water. Ah! You. Huamin didn't have time to finish his sentence. Her lips were sealed by Qin Chu's cool lips. Huamin felt his body turn soft, as if he was about to melt. Qin Chu had measured the temperature of the water in the pool with a thermometer. It was 45 degrees, which was just right for the human body. The bathtub in the bathroom was wider than normal, so it was not crowded when two people went in at the same time. Huamin closed her eyes and felt Qin Chu's warmth and gentleness. She didn't know when Qin Chu had taken off her soaked bathrobe. Under the clear water, Huamin's exquisite, smooth, and fair body was revealed. The lights in the bathroom were warm and a little dim yellow. The warm feeling of the sun shining on her body increased the mood by quite a bit. Qin Chu kissed all the way down her neck and then down. With every inch of skin he kissed, Huamin felt like there were countless little bugs in her body moving restlessly. It was an indescribable feeling, as if she wanted more. The two bodies were entwined in the bathtub. With Qin Chu's light movements, the water rose and fell. He didn't want to go too fast. He just wanted to slowly feel the endless beauty in Mian's body. "Mian, open your eyes and look at me," Qin Chu whispered in her ear with his magical voice. Chapter 437. Huamin slowly opened her eyes. Her clear eyes were filled with gentleness. She would only show this gentle side of her when she was with Qin Chu. How many people would spend their lives with the person they loved the most until their hair turned white? On that starry night on Yunding Mountain, she made a wish to a shooting star. At the time, Qin Chu asked her what it was. She didn't tell him, because it was the first and most beautiful dream in her heart. In her half-awake state, Huamin felt her body become very light, as if she was floating. In the end, she couldn't tell if it was a dream or reality. In her exhaustion, she fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, when Huamin woke up, it was already 7:00 in the morning. After she washed up, she walked downstairs. Qin Chu had already made breakfast and was reading the financial news on his phone. Morning. When Qin Chu heard Huamin's voice, he immediately put down his phone, looked up, and gently asked, "Did you sleep well?" "Emichim," Huamin nodded. She was more or less a little shy. Last night, the two of them were in the bathtub. "Okay, let's not talk about it. It's too dirty to talk about it in the morning. You made Chinese food." Huamin was a little surprised when she saw the Chinese breakfast on the table. Qin Chu rarely made Chinese food. Even if he did, it would be simple fried eggs, vegetable noodles, or something like that, but today, it was congee with pork and century egg and pumpkin pie. Oh my god, pumpkin pie. The pumpkin pie didn't look very round, and it was even a little burnt. The congee is easier, but the pumpkin pie is more difficult. I didn't get the timing right, so it's a little burnt. I don't think so. It looks very delicious. After speaking, Huamin picked up a pumpkin and put it in her bowl. Then, she lowered her head and took a small bite. "How is it?" Qin Chu asked a little nervously. "It's very tasty and sweet." "Did you steam the pumpkin and put it in the noodles?" Qin Chu nodded. "You're a genius." Huamin exclaimed. Pumpkin pancakes were more difficult to make. Although she liked to eat them, she was too lazy to make them. Most of them were half-finished products bought from the supermarket. After he came back, he fried it. It was his first time eating handmade food. Although it didn't look good, it was really delicious. Huamin had a great appetite. He ate 3 pumpkin pies and 2 bowls of congee with pork and century egg. After breakfast, the two of them went downstairs and prepared to go to work. "Honey. Our company is having a charity auction tonight to raise money for the Mian Foundation. It starts at 7 p.m., so after you get off work, come find me at GK. The dress is at the company, and we'll attend the auction together," Qin Chu instructed. "All right." Huamin was very interested when she heard that it was about the Mian Foundation. During her days on Yunding Mountain, she and Qin Chu went into the countryside to experience the children there. All of them were malnourished, and some of them even ate salted vegetables for lunch. It was so sad that it made her cry. Huamin didn't think that doing charity wasn't about love or anything. She just felt that she should help as many people as she could within her means. At the very least, seeing those children living a good life because of his own efforts, he felt very comfortable in his heart. Giving roses to others would leave a lingering fragrance in her hands. After they arrived at Southside, Huamin began working for the day. Head nurse, a new patient came into room 7 last night, and he refused to cooperate with us. What illness did he have? Huamin asked as he looked at the information on the computer. Mania. Are you kidding me? Isn't mania a psychiatric disorder? Why was he sent to the orthopedics department? Huamin looked at the nurse in surprise. The psychiatry department said that there were too many patients and they were full. The orthopedics department has had a lot of empty beds recently, so, nonsense, let's go take a look. Then, Huamin led the nurse to room 7. As soon as she opened the door, a pillow flew at Huamin and almost hit her face. Luckily, she reacted quickly and tilted her head to avoid it. Chapter 438. Get out, all of you get out of here. I don't want to be here. I want to go out and play games. Huamin followed the voice and saw a 17 or 18-year-old boy lying on the hospital bed. He was skinny, his face was slightly yellow, and there were dark circles under his eyes. It was obvious that he didn't sleep well. Huamin glanced at his medical record. Huang Jiaming, male, 17 years old, a student from 2nd high school. Due to his bipolar disorder, he violated school rules many times and was forced to quit school. His parents were the owners of the largest supermarket chain in the area. He was the only child of a well-to-do family. With this information, Huamin could basically determine the cause of his illness. Therefore, he walked towards the boy. Head nurse, don't go over there, it's dangerous, the nurse behind her reminded, afraid that Huamin would be hurt. You're Huang Jiaming, right? Who are you? Let me out, or else I'll tear your hospital apart. Do you believe me? The boy said rebelliously. Huamin smiled slightly. What are you smiling at? Do you think I don't dare? The boy was furious. Huamin shook his head. I believe you, I just feel like I see myself in you. When I was your age, I was also very naughty. Back then, I skipped classes in 2nd high and was caught by the principal when I climbed over the wall. You're from 2nd high too. The boy's eyes were filled with excitement. Huamin nodded. 2nd high's teaching quality is high, but there's a lot of homework and exams. I didn't like to study back then, so I often skipped classes. Me too, I didn't like our teacher. He always had a sad face, the boy immediately agreed. You like to play online games? Yeah, I like to play League of Legends. What a coincidence, me too. My favorite character is Scarecrow. What about you? Huamin asked with a smile. Scarecrow. It's not good in one-on-one fights, but it's good in AoE. I like to use Annie. The boy smiled, as if he no longer had any hostility towards Huamin. Annie, the cute little girl with the bear in her hand, Huamin said with a smile. The young man immediately said excitedly, yes, that little bear is very powerful. Every time I use Annie, my chances of winning are especially high. The prerequisite is that you don't get a pig-like teammate, Huamin added. Yes, that's right. Sister, it seems that we are kindred spirits. Can you discuss with the hospital and get me a notebook? It's so boring here. I want to play a few rounds. The youth looked at Huamin and pleaded. That's not a problem, but I have a condition. What conditions? You can only play for 1 hour a day, and, after you're done playing, you have to cooperate with the nurse to draw your blood, infusion, and take your medicine on time, okay? Ah. The young man looked reluctant. If you don't agree, then forget it. I'll leave first, Huamin said, getting up to leave. Chapter 439. I just came back from a business trip to Japan and brought you 2 bags. Then, Hua Xiqian walked in and placed a large paper bag on Huamin's desk. The bag had the name of the brand on it, Hermes. Huamin knew that this was a luxury brand and wasn't cheap. Qin Chu had prepared a lot for her in her closet, but she didn't take them because they were too eye-catching. I don't want them. Don't think too much about it, I didn't buy them especially for you. I bought them for my date, and I bought too many of them. These designs are on sale. If you don't like them, you can give them away or throw them away. It's up to you. Then, Hua Xiqian turned around and left. Hey! Before Huamin could finish, he disappeared. Looking at the 2 designer bags in the paper bag, Huamin was speechless. Was Hua Xiqian crazy? Why did he buy her bags? Even if he didn't buy them especially for her, they weren't close enough for him to give her designer bags, right? However, ever since Huamin found out that she wasn't Hua Xiqian's daughter, she didn't dislike him as much as she used to. Since she wasn't even a part of the Hua family, she had to ask Hua Xiqian to resign from her position as the president of the Hua Foundation. After all, she couldn't take advantage of him. If her surname wasn't Hua, then what was it? Huamin was quite curious. After work, she didn't forget what Qin Chu told her this morning, so she drove straight to GK. In order to get to the top floor, Assistant Yang personally came down to greet her. A young lady, Assistant Yang immediately greeted her. Huamin smiled and followed Assistant Yang up to the top floor. Qin Chu was still in the meeting room. Xiao Yang poured a cup of coffee for Huamin and said, "A young lady, have some coffee first. The stylist and costume designer will be here soon. The president said that you should dress up first and go straight to the hotel." "All right, thank you for your hard work." "Not at all, not at all. I have to thank a young lady for putting in a good word for me. That's why the president didn't deduct my salary." Yang really liked a young lady because he felt that she didn't put on airs at all and was easygoing. 3 minutes later, 2 women walked in, followed by the makeup artist and the costume designer. 40 minutes later, Qin Chu returned to his office from the conference room. When she saw that Huamin had finished dressing up, she was completely stunned. She was wearing a light yellow evening gown with a small V-neck and diamond-studded neckline. The skirt was slit, revealing one side of her thighs. It was sexy but not gorgeous. Her hair was coiled up, and there was a white gardenia flower on one side. It was a fresh flower, very fragrant, very beautiful, full of immortal aura. On her feet was a pair of white high heels with diamonds on the heels. It was extremely luxurious. She was wearing expensive jewelry around her neck, ears, and wrists. Huamin originally didn't like these things because she thought they were too flashy. However, the stylist said that these were GK's new designs and that a young lady would be able to advertise her brand if she wore them. So, in the end, Huamin silently accepted them. The bag in her hand was a white rectangular bag with tassels. It was simple and elegant, and was a limited edition Chanel bag. Huamin estimated that this outfit cost at least a few 100,000 yuan. She even had a lot of diamonds, but that was still a conservative estimate. The true value of this outfit was more than 8 million yuan, because the set of jewelry she was wearing was close to 5 million yuan. When Qin Chu walked in, Huamin was standing by the window and looking at the scenery downstairs. When she heard footsteps, she would turn around and look. Qin Chu was almost instantly killed. He finally understood a bit of an ancient poem, looking back with a smile, all the beauties of the 6 palaces pale in comparison. This wasn't just the beauties of the 6 palaces pale in comparison. It was as if all the women in the world couldn't compare to Huomin's beauty. In his eyes, she was just like that, beautiful lady. Have you seen my wife, Huomin? Qin Chu asked with a smile. Yeah, didn't they say that the president just came back not long ago? Is she his girlfriend? Or is she an employee? She can't be an employee, they look really close. Many socialites whispered to each other. They suddenly felt like their hopes were dashed. They originally wanted to get closer to Qin Chu at the auction. However, he brought a girlfriend and took care of her meticulously. TSK, look at how attentive she is. She didn't even ask, she just took off her suit jacket and put it on. It seems like Qin Chu really loves her, Wei Liao sighed. No one will think you're mute if you don't speak, Su Yut said coldly. Chapter 441. You can't stand it already. If they show off their love later, you'll be even more upset. I told you not to come, but you came looking for abuse. You even spent money to get abused, Wei Liao complained. GK invited many celebrities to the charity dinner, so it was up to the guests to attend. The purpose of this dinner was obvious. The company would auction off items, and the guests would fork out money for charity. However, many people were willing to come, not because they were passionate about charity, but because they wanted to improve their relationship with GK. They wanted to build a good relationship with the new president, Qin Chu, so that they could work together in the future. Su Yu didn't have to come, because he was in the entertainment industry, and GK had never invested in media. He only came because GK's foundation was called the Mian Foundation. Su Yu knew that the foundation was named after Huomin, so he had to come. He even dragged Wei Liao with him. Let's begin, Qin Chu ordered. Then, the MC walked to the center of the room and began the prelude. The first item is a sandalwood fan from the early Qin dynasty. It's part of GK's president's collection, and the starting bid is 300,000 yuan. I bid 300,000 yuan, 350,000 yuan, 450,000 yuan. Several rich businessmen began to fight over the item, and in the end, the sandalwood fan was sold at a high price of 600,000 yuan. Huomin was in a good mood as she watched the auction. She knew that all of the money raised from this auction would go to the Mian Foundation. The money would be used to pay for the children's meals and school construction in the depths of Yunding Mountain. More than an hour had passed since Shang Xian had taken a lot of photos. Are you hungry? Qin Chu whispered into her ear. I'm okay. Bear with it for a bit, we'll go eat after this. Okay. Huomin nodded. The two of them sat in the first row with their fingers interlocked, and they continued to watch the auction. Finally, the MC announced solemnly, the last item is GK's new jewelry. It was developed by 7 famous designers, and it's called Prosperous Age Fanghua. Then, the big screen began to introduce the composition, style, and design concept of the jewelry. Huomin only found out that the set of jewelry he was wearing was worth 5 million yuan after reading the introduction. Finally, the host said, let's welcome Miss Hua to the stage to show everyone the real deal. Go, don't be nervous. Qin Chu comforted her. Huomin nodded. He got up and carefully walked onto the stage. Then, he stood under the spotlight. She had a warm smile on her face from beginning to end. Her smile was very sweet and beautiful. Su Yu's eyes never left her face. Hey, don't look at it anymore. Be careful that it gets stuck in your eyes and you can't pull it out, Wei Liao joked. Next up is Flourishing Youth. The starting price is 5 million. Let's begin. 5 million, someone shouted in pain. 8 million. 8,800,000. 5 million. This was a limited edition set of jewelry. Because the company only designed one set, many rich businessmen kept it for themselves. They would either give it to their wives, daughters, or lovers. All in all, the bidding was intense as soon as the auction began. The price jumped by a lot as well, 18 million. Chin-Chu raised his paddle. Did he want to pay for it himself? No, he only wanted to raise the price to raise more money. As expected, after Chin-Chu joined in, the competition became even more intense. 9 million. Someone raised his paddle, 30 million. This time, Chin-Chu directly jumped the price by 10 million. No one made a move. After all, 30 million was already too high, 30 million going once, 30 million going twice, 30 million. The host didn't finish his sentence. Before the host could finish speaking, a deep voice from the back row said, 50 million. As soon as this was said, the crowd went into an uproar. Huamin was also slightly surprised. She stood in the middle of the stage and looked through the crowd at the last person who raised his paddle. That person was Su Yu. Chapter 442. When everyone saw that it was Su Yu who raised the placard, they didn't find it strange anymore. After all, one of Su Yu's biggest hobbies was to burn money. Young Master Su made a bid, no wonder. I was wondering who was so generous. Yeah, I wonder which girlfriend Lord Su is going to give this set to. He's so lucky, It's probably Zhao Qingya. Hasn't she been favored recently? I don't think so. I heard that he's already gotten rid of her and replaced her with someone new. The socialites whispered to each other. The host was a bit excited. 50 million, President Su of Imperial Star Entertainment has bid as high as 50 million. Is there any higher bid? The crowd fell silent. 50 million, going once, 50 million, going twice, 50 million, going thrice, sold. Congratulations, President Su Yu of Imperial Star Entertainment. As soon as the host finished speaking, the crowd burst into thunderous applause. Chin-Chu didn't say anything, but the corners of his mouth curled up. This set of jewelry was worth 5 million, but it was sold for 50 million. It was worth it. You're really burning money. That set of jewelry was only 5 million, you're really doing GK a favor. Oh, wait, I mean, you're doing Huamin a favor. Wei Liao felt bad for Su Yu. President Su, please come down and accept the jewelry, the host said with a smile. Su Yu stood up, adjusted the collar of his suit, and walked up to the center of the stage. Two hostesses carefully removed the jewelry from Huamin's body. It was an earring, a necklace, and a bracelet. Then, they placed it on a tray and handed it to Huamin. Huamin handed the jewelry to Su Yu. Congratulations. Su Yu didn't say anything as he slowly took the jewelry. Then, he looked around and said, since I bought this set of jewelry at such a high price, can I make a small request? President Su, please go ahead, the host immediately responded. I want to take a picture with Miss Hua. After he said that, everyone was dumbfounded. The dignified Su Yu actually asked to take a photo with this model wearing jewelry. He really didn't change his romantic nature. Huamin was a little surprised. After all, he did not expect Su Yu to make such a request. She looked at Chin-Chu awkwardly. Chin-Chu did not seem to object. After all, this was a public occasion. That's not a problem. Miss Hua, please stand still. The host didn't know the relationship between Huamin and Chin-Chu. So naturally, he agreed to this request on her behalf. Just then, Chin Chu slowly walked onto the stage. President Su spent so much money to buy the jewelry, which is a great honor for GK. To express my gratitude, I'd like to take a photo with him. After speaking, Chin Chu walked between Su Yu and Huamin. Pfft. Chin Chu is so mean. Wei Liao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Su Yu's expression was already very ugly, but he had no choice but to take this strange photo with the three of them. It was also the only time in their lives that the three of them would take a photo together. Huamin knew that Chin Chu wouldn't give Su Yu a chance to get close to her so easily. When she saw Chin Chu walk up and stand between her and Su Yu, she almost burst out laughing. However, she forced herself to hold it in. Finally, the host handed a photo of the three of them to Su Yu. President Su, here's your photo. Su Yu took the photo with a cold expression and remained silent. After the last piece of jewelry was auctioned, the charity event ended. Chin Chu held Huamin's hand and walked out. What do you want to eat? Let me think, spicy hot pot is fine. I'm craving spicy food all of a sudden. Huamin smiled. Okay. Chin Chu nodded gently and walked out with Huamin. Su Yu stood at the door, seemingly waiting for someone. When he saw Huamin and Su Yu walk out, Su Yu walked up to them and said, "This is for you." Huamin looked at the set of jewelry in Su Yu's hand in astonishment. President Su, you should keep such an expensive item for yourself. If my wife likes it, I can ask the design department to redesign it. Chin Chu smiled. This is mine. I can give it to whoever I want. Huamin, take it. Su Yu handed over the jewelry gift box and forced it into Huamin's hands. Chapter 443. I don't want it. Huamian immediately returned the jewelry to Su Yu. Her actions were swift and without any hesitation. Why? Because it's too expensive. I don't think it's expensive. Take it. You took care of me for so long at the recuperation center. Take it as a gift from me to thank you. Su Yu gave a lame excuse. Huamin shook his head firmly. I'm an employee of the recuperation center. That's just my job. Thank you for your kindness. Then, Huamin held on to Chin Chu's arm. Honey, let's go eat. Okay. Chin Chu nodded. Then, the two got into the Maybach and left. Su Yu stood there with the jewelry in his hand as he watched the two of them leave. He didn't feel good about it. He had never envied anyone in his life because he was born with everything that others wanted. But today, he envied Chin Chu from the bottom of his heart. Huamin stood beside him and smiled gently at him. I told you not to come. You're just asking for trouble. Wei Liao came out of the car and dragged Su Yu into the car. Chin Chu and Huamin then drove to a Sichuan spicy hot pot restaurant. The restaurant wasn't big, but it was quite crowded. Chin Chu wanted to change seats because there weren't any private rooms here. However, Huamin thought it was too troublesome, so the two of them sat in the lobby on the first floor. The lobby was quite big. There were about 30 or so tables, and the environment was quite nice. Huamin and Chin Chu found a table for two and sat down. Huamin picked up a pen and began to order. Chin Chu took out his phone and looked at the summary from the charity dinner. We received a total of 230 million yuan. Not bad. Chin Chu nodded. That much? Huamin was slightly surprised. It's not that much. Su Yu himself bought 50 million worth of items. Chin Chu smiled. Speaking of Su Yu, Huamin was a little embarrassed as she explained, Honey, Su Yu and I understand. You don't have to explain. I know your character. Chin Chu touched Huamin's small hand that was holding the ballpoint pen. Min suddenly felt a lot better. She was really afraid that Chin Chu would be angry because of this. Luckily, Chin Chu didn't. He could understand her position. Min and Chin Chu sat at the table next to each other, separated by a wall. There were 6 or 7 men eating at the table. Their voices were especially loud and noisy. The waiter went over to remind them several times, but it was no use. Just then, a tall beauty walked in through the door. She was about 1.7 meters tall, had long legs, fair skin, and good looks. She looked like she was in her 20s. Although it was autumn, she only wore denim shorts and a white loose t-shirt. In her hand was a Louis Vuitton handbag. She sat down not too far away from Min and Chin Chu. The men at the table next to them looked over from time to time. Then, they deliberately said in a loud voice, "Nowadays, do you know what a young woman wearing designer clothes relies on? Her godfather, ah. She calls him godfather during the day and gets fucked by him at night." Unsightly words followed. Min couldn't stand it anymore. She really hated it when men gossiped. Why did they say such disgusting and obscene things instead of eating? The beauty obviously heard it as well. She glanced over at them. The men became even more impudent. Some even whistled at the woman. It was blatant flirting. The beauty's expression changed. Then, she got up and walked towards the bathroom. As she walked, she took out her phone. "Dad, ask someone to come over and help me take care of something." When she walked past Min heard her say a few words. "Oh no, someone's going to be in big trouble." Min looked at the group of stinky men with an amused expression. They were still drinking happily. 10 minutes later, 6 Mercedes-Benz 600 sedans stopped in front of the Hot Pot restaurant. More than 10 men in black t-shirts got out of the cars with baseball bats in their hands. As soon as they came in, they didn't say anything and directly beat up the men at the table. Immediately, beer bottles flew everywhere and howls of pain filled the air. The other customers were so scared that they screamed. Chin Chu immediately pulled Min to the side, afraid that she would get hurt. A few minutes later, the men all fell to the ground. Their faces were covered in blood. It was a horrible sight. The tall beauty slowly walked towards them in her high heels. Chapter 444. Then, the beautiful woman stepped on one of the men's hands and slowly said, "Weren't you curious about who I relied on? Let me tell you, I didn't rely on my godfather, it's my biological father. Don't talk nonsense. Don't ever let me see you again, or I'll beat you up every time I see you." Then, the beautiful woman and her men turned around and left, without even eating the hot pot. The restaurant owner was so scared that he didn't dare to stop them. Someone even called the police, but when the police came, it was just a routine question. "Were you scared?" Chin Chu asked as he hugged Min. "No, I enjoyed watching them." "Who told them to gossip?" "Great, they got beaten up, didn't they? A bunch of grown men gossiping and insulting a little girl. How disgusting. They deserve to be beaten up." Min laughed. Let's go to another restaurant." The two of them didn't even get to eat much before this happened, so they stopped eating. On the way home, they passed by a McDonald's. Min said that he hadn't had hamburgers in a long time, so the two of them ate fast food. Inside a high-end club, Suyu was in a bad mood. He drank 2 bottles of wine and was a little tipsy. "Don't drink anymore, we're almost done," Wei Liao said as he looked at the empty bottles. Suyu didn't say anything, but his expression was quite melancholic. He picked up his phone and scrolled through Weibo. Min hadn't updated in a long time. He wanted to talk to her, but he couldn't reach her. It wasn't that he didn't have her phone, but he couldn't call her. Suyu was quite dignified when it came to this. Pestering her wasn't a solution, and it wasn't his style. Old Wei, do you think I still have a chance? Su-yu sighed and asked. Are you telling the truth or a lie? Of course I'm telling the truth. Su-yu rolled his eyes at him. Judging from the current situation, the chances of you succeeding are very small, very slim. After all, you've only known Huamin for a few days. I heard that Qin Chu and her have known each other for many years. They were high school classmates and childhood sweethearts. Then you'd better tell the lie, Su-yu immediately retorted. The lie. If you're thick-skinned enough to force yourself between them, it's not impossible. Although it's shameful to be a homewrecker, true love is innocent, huh? Why did Su-yu feel even more depressed? Did he really want to be a homewrecker? Su-yu, young Master Su. Or you could just wait for Huamian to get divorced, Wei Liao added. What if she doesn't divorces me? Am I a fucking monk? Su-yu said angrily. If she doesn't want a divorce, then think of a way to get one for her. Use, faces, ha, the point is, I'm telling the truth. Wei Liao snickered. After a while, he picked up an empty wine bottle and threw it on the floor, clang. The sound of the wine bottle shattering scared everyone in the private room so much that they didn't dare to move. What's wrong with Lord Su? A few rich kids asked. Su-yu slowly got up and grabbed his tie. The thing I hate the most in my life is childhood sweethearts. Then, he slammed the door and left. Su-yu felt like the heavens were unfair. Why didn't he meet Huamin first? Why did it have to be Qin Chu? Why wasn't Huamin his high school classmate? The problem was, Su-yu didn't even have the time to attend high school before he joined the army. Those few years were blank. Su-yu got into the black Lamborghini Element and sped off. The black Lamborghini roared in the middle of the night. The sound was deafening. Su-yu was a good racer. Whether it was his fancy performance or his driving skills, they were all excellent. It took him less than 8 minutes to drive from the clubhouse to the private mansion. After he got out of the car, he vaguely saw a small figure standing at the door. After he saw clearly, he frowned slightly. Why are you here? Chapter 445. The residential area Su-yu lived in was famous for the rich. Only the residents of the area could enter. However, Zhao Qingya was a celebrity and Su-yu's ex-girlfriend, so the security guards didn't stop her when they saw her car. Su-yu gave the pink Lamborghini to Huamin last time, but Huamin didn't want it. In the end, Zhao Qingya picked it up. She didn't bring her agent today. Plus, she came here in the middle of the night to wait for Su-yu. Everyone knew what she was thinking. I've been waiting for you for more than an hour. Zhao Qingya didn't have the keys to the mansion, so she could only wait outside. She knew that Su-yu didn't want to spend the night outside. They used to stay in a hotel, and after they were done, they had to go back to the private mansion. Su-yu bought this mansion for more than 50 million yuan, and spent another 50 million to renovate it. The cost was more than 100 million yuan. It shocked all the rich people in the area. The private garden in the back alone was more than 400 square meters, which showed how luxurious it was. Ever since Su-yu came back from the military, he rarely went back to the Su family's old mansion. He was used to being alone. Zhao Qingya came here a few times, but she didn't spend the night here. Su-yu didn't seem to want to bring a woman back. After all, this was his real home. Come in. Su-yu pressed the remote, used his fingerprint and retina password to open the mansion door. Zhao Qingya was wearing a white dress, looking pure and sweet. She followed behind him and walked in silently. What would you like to drink? Su-yu asked in front of the fridge. Coke. Su-yu took out a can of beer and a can of Coke. He handed the can of Coke to Zhao Qingya, then sat down on the sofa. There was a control panel on the edge of the sofa. With a light press, the air conditioner, TV, air purification system, and the super luxurious nightlight in the aquarium all turned on. Suddenly, the lights were on. Wei Liao once said that Siyu was going to turn his home into an aquarium. The ceiling and the surroundings of the living room were made of tempered glass, and there were all kinds of tropical fish swimming around. Seaweed, corals, reefs, and even white whales and sharks. Of course, they all had their own areas. Last time, Wei Liao asked if he wanted a place with penguins and polar bears. Siyu said seriously, "I'll think about it when I'm free." Wei Liao almost choked. Not to mention Siyu, anyone would feel comfortable in such a luxurious mansion. The feeling of returning home was like jumping into the sea. "What's the matter?" Siyu sat on the sofa opposite Zhao Qingya and asked indifferently. "It's nothing. I just haven't been in a good mood lately, so I wanted to come and see you." "Didn't you go out to film?" Siyu asked casually. "I haven't asked my manager to arrange so many scenes for me recently. My body is a little weak this year. Last time, I fell from the pressure and injured my waist, so a lot of the fight scenes were cut off. If you're not feeling well, then you should take a break and rest for a while. Maybe you should go on a trip overseas." Zhao Qingya's eyes lit up, and she immediately said, "President Su, do you have time? How about we go to New Zealand for a few days?" "I don't have time, I'm busy at the company," Siyu refused right away. Zhao Qingya was slightly disappointed. "You really don't have anything else to talk to me about, right?" Siyu was drunk and didn't have the patience to continue chatting with Zhao Qingya. He wanted to go to bed. Upon hearing this, Zhao Qingya slowly walked over and sat down beside Siyu. Her fair hand slid down from Suyu's chest. "President Su, I want to stay with you tonight." This was the first time Zhao Qingya was so straightforward with her seduction. In the past, she always tried to resist. Upon hearing this, Siyu narrowed his eyes and sized up the woman beside him. Chapter 446. Zhao Qingya saw that Siyu didn't say anything, so she boldly reached her hand down. She believed that her passion could seduce Siyu. Perhaps she was too confident in herself, so when Siyu pushed her away, she was a little dumbfounded. "I'm not in the mood. If you want to stay, there's a guest room on the first floor. If you don't want to stay, you can drive home." Then, Siyu got up and walked upstairs to his bedroom. Zhao Qingya felt like she was slapped in the face. This was the first time she actively threw herself at him, but she was rejected. She was almost certain that Siyu wasn't interested in her. Did he like someone else? She originally thought that Siyu liked Mian, but recently, she hired someone to keep an eye on Mian. That woman was either acting or going home. Basically, she had zero interaction with Siyu, and they would occasionally run into each other at the company. Siyu didn't seem to care about her either. He seemed to have forgotten who Mian was. If she wasn't a newcomer at the company, could she be a socialite or someone outside of the industry? Zhao Qingya was confused. Was she going to stay the night? Of course not. Why would she stay in the guest room? It was meaningless. Just as she got up and was about to leave, she suddenly saw Suyu's phone light up. It turned out that he had a WeChat message. She looked at the notification and saw that it was from Wei Liao while her phone was still flashing. She suddenly discovered a key piece of information. Suyu's screensaver was a woman's photo. This had never happened before. She had known Siyu for a few years, and Suyu's screensaver had always been the scenery. Sometimes, he would change it to his beloved car. There had never been a woman's photo that could be used as his screensaver. But now, there was one. Even though it was just a flash, Zhao Qingya still recognized it. Wasn't that woman the nurse at Southside? She was the plain-looking one who didn't stand out at all. She was someone who was easy to forget. She actually seduced Suyu. Wasn't it just for fun? Zhao Qingya felt very hurt. When she first heard rumors that Suyu was interested in a nurse, she thought that it was just because Suyu didn't want to be lonely when he was recuperating and wanted to have some fun. She didn't expect that Suyu would still contact her after such a long time. Moreover, he even used that woman's photo as his screensaver. This was simply huge news. After Suyu went upstairs, he looked for his phone. Suddenly, he remembered that he had left it downstairs, so he turned around and went downstairs. "You haven't left yet?" he asked coldly when he saw Zhao Qingya still standing in the living room. "Right away." "President Su, are you in love with another woman?" Zhao Qingya asked pitifully as she bit her lip. Suyu raised his eyebrows. "Do I need to report to you who I like?" "No, that's not what I meant. I just wanted to say that if you really have a woman you like, I'll give you my blessing." "Thank you for your blessing." Then, Suyu picked up his phone and went upstairs. Zhao Qingya, on the other hand, left Suyu's private mansion dejectedly. Upstairs, Suyu lay on his spacious bed. He turned on his phone and quietly stared at his screensaver for a few seconds. Even though this photo was taken secretly, the more he looked at it, the more he liked it. Suddenly, he thought of something. He got up and took out a photo he took at the auction today from his bag. Then, he took out a pair of scissors from his drawer and cut off Qin Chu from the middle, throwing it into the trash can. Only he and Huamin were left. Without any obstacles, they looked much more pleasing to the eye. Then, he found some glue and glued the photo back together. Needless to say, the photo didn't look out of place at all. Finally, Suyu happily took a photo with his phone and photoshopped it, fixing the lighting and gaps in the middle. Finally, he sent it to Wei Liao. "Fuck, what's going on?" Wei Liao immediately replied when he saw the photo. Chapter 447. "The situation is what you saw," Suyu replied proudly. "Don't talk nonsense with me. I'm asking about the photo. Isn't there a person in the middle? I cut it off, then glued it back together. Finally, I photoshopped the photo. Ha ha ha, I always thought you were a silver genius." Wei Liao said halfway. "What about now?" "Now I realize that you're a genius. You must have been a tailor in your previous life. How did you come up with this?" Wei Liao laughed maniacally. Suyu replied proudly, "I'm the only one who can come up with such a good idea. Is it really okay for you to be so fantasizing? It's not as satisfying as being in real life. You have to continue working hard and become a real person as soon as possible. Go away. You're too dirty. I can't talk to you. Go to sleep. Damn, you're still pretending to be innocent. You really look like you're experiencing your first awakening of love." Wei Liao looked at Suyu as if he had found his first love. He was so mysterious all day. He was speechless. When Huamin and Qin Chu returned home, it was already very late. The two showered and went to bed. Huamin was wearing a white lace nightgown. He lay in Qin Chu's arms and played with his phone. He scrolled through his WeChat moments. He found a very sensitive issue. Jixin posted a picture of spicy duck head in Wanda Plaza in the morning. Huang Yu also posted a picture in the evening. Although it wasn't a big deal, the two of them might have gone to eat separately. It was just a coincidence. However, Huamin felt that the two of them must have eaten together. Moreover, Jixin's recent posts on WeChat moments were obviously filled with happiness. Huang Yu was also shy like a little woman. This child is really disobedient. Huamin sighed. What's wrong? Qin Chu turned his head and asked. Min then told him about Jixin and Huang Yu. After hearing this, Qin Chu didn't have much of an expression. It's normal for young people to fall in love. That's right. I'm not trying to stop Jixin from dating. It's just that he and Huang Yu are both simple-minded. If things don't go well in the future and they get hurt, it'll be a huge blow to both of them. You seem to be thinking too much. Isn't it normal to be frustrated in love? Jixin is a man, you can't always worry about his injuries. The more you worry about him, the harder it will be for him to be independent. This was Qin Chu's opinion. Perhaps men and women had different standpoints. Min was eager to protect her younger brother, so it was normal for her to be worried. Qin Chu was right. Who doesn't fall in love? Who can get into a relationship on the first try? Isn't it normal to break up? What's more, the two of them were in love and hadn't broken up yet. Min's imagination was already running wild. You're right, so don't think too much. You'll get tired if you think too much. Qin Chu dotingly flicked Min's forehead. Min immediately closed his eyes. Then let's go to sleep. I'm sleepy. Are you going to sleep now? We still have things to do, you're so perverted. Min immediately covered his face with his hands. Honey, I'm talking about how we haven't said goodnight to each other before we go to sleep. Are you thinking about other places? Min was now completely embarrassed. He immediately lifted the big blanket and hid his head under it. Qin Chu also hid under it. Don't touch me, it tickles. Under the blanket, the two of them were tangled up. The next day, Min was working the night shift, so he drove home during the day and bought a lot of things. Because Yang Meirong was still angry, she didn't say a word to Min, nor did she go to pick up the things he bought. Mom, take care of yourself. I'm leaving now, Min said before he left. Yang Meirong still ignored him, but Min felt like his mom didn't kick him out, nor did she mention anything about cutting ties with him. It was probably because Jixin's words last time were effective. At around 5 p.m., Min drove to Southside Recuperation Center. He had a staff meal and then had a meeting. When he came out and was about to do his rounds, he received a phone call. Is this Min? You are. Looking at the unfamiliar number, Min was confused. Chapter 448. I'm Zhao Qingya. I'm on the rooftop of your hospital. Can we talk? Miss Zhao, I don't think we know each other that well. I have something to talk to you about. That's all. Zhao Qingya hung up before Min could say anything. Min was speechless. She knew that Zhao Qingya was a popular celebrity. She would occasionally go home and watch some of Zhao Qingya's period dramas. Zhao Qingya's acting skills were pretty good. However, Zhao Qingya really didn't want to have anything to do with Zhao Qingya in her daily life. Zhao Qingya didn't like Zhao Qingya and thought that Zhao Qingya wasn't a good person. However, there wasn't anything going on between her and Su Yu, so she didn't care about Zhao Qingya. If another woman tried to fight with her for Qin Chu, she would teach her a lesson. Zhao Qingya thought about it and decided to go to the rooftop. If she didn't go this time, Zhao Qingya might continue to pester her. 5 minutes later, on the rooftop of the nursing home, Zhao Qingya's agent and bodyguards were waiting at the bottom of the stairs. Zhao Qingya was wearing black sportswear, a black baseball cap, and a white mask. Min was wearing a white lab coat. You're here. Zhao Qingya heard footsteps and turned around. Miss Zhao, why are you looking for me? If it's business, I suggest you talk to me in my office. If it's personal, I don't think we know each other that well. There shouldn't be anything personal to talk about. My time is precious, so I won't beat around the bush with you. I'll get straight to the point. When did you seduce young Master Su? Young Master Su? You mean Su Yu? Hua Min frowned slightly. Don't play dumb. Zhao Qingya took off her mask and stared coldly at Hua Min. There's nothing going on between Su Yu and me. How could I seduce him? Miss Zhao, are you hallucinating because you've been acting too much? Hua Min sneered. Zhao Qingya's expression changed slightly. Her eyes were filled with anger. Don't talk nonsense. I saw your photo on young Master Su's phone last night. My photo? Hua Min was slightly surprised. Yes, he even used that photo as his screensaver. Now you're telling me that there's nothing going on between you and young Master Su. Are you kidding me? Or do you think I'm an idiot? Zhao Qingya's face was ferocious when she cursed, which was completely different from her usual image on TV. If Qin Chu's fans saw her like this, they would probably be scared. Are you sure? Of course, she replied. Now, as Hua Qingya's. Since when did he have a photo? She didn't remember giving it to him. Oh, I remember now. Was it at the charity banquet? She thought it was the photo they took together. However, before she could finish, Zhao Qingya interrupted her. Young Master Su is not suitable for you. Why don't you take a look at your own status and quit as soon as possible? Chapter 449. I've been with young Master Su for 3 years, and I'm the woman who's been with him the longest. I won't leave him, and I won't allow any other woman to be with him. I can play with him, but after that, don't blame me for being rude. You're just a nurse from a small hospital, don't be so arrogant. Don't think that just because young Master Su has your back, you can do whatever you want. I'm not trying to scare you, but I'll give you 3 days to break up with young Master Su, or else, otherwise. Zhao Qingya didn't finish her sentence, but Hua Min knew exactly what she wanted to say. There was nothing going on between her and Su Yu. At most, it was Su Yu's unrequited love, but now Zhao Qingya's attitude was so bad. Hua Min was in trouble. She was being treated like a sick cat if the tiger didn't show its power. What I want to do is my own business. If you lay a finger on me, you're dead meat. I'm just an insignificant nurse, but you're no better than me. To put it nicely, you're a celebrity, but to put it bluntly, you're just an actress. Don't look down on each other, we're all relying on our own abilities to make a living. Are you openly going against me? Zhao Qingya was furious. You're being unreasonable. If I knew you were here to talk to me about this, I wouldn't have come to the rooftop. You're wasting my time. Also, I have a warning for you. If you can't control a man, that's because you're useless. It's useless for you to come to me. Why don't you go and find Su Yu? Are you afraid of him? If you're so scared, then don't come and talk to me. Let me tell you, I'm scarier than Su Yu. I'm not your mother, and I won't let you do whatever you want. With that, Hua Min turned around and left. Very well, bitch. Just you wait. Zhao Qingya grabbed her mask and threw it to the ground. After sending Zhao Qingya off, Hua Min went to check the rooms. Along the way, Nan Nan reported the situation to her. The patient in ward number 7 has been in a better mood recently. He no longer throws tantrums and listens to you. We give him an hour of playtime every day. He seems to be more cheerful and will occasionally chat with us nurses. The psychiatrist said that since he's doing well here, he should stay here for the time being and not change shifts. They're afraid that he'll be conflicted with the unfamiliar environment and nurses. As for his family, they rarely come and seem to be very busy. His mother came the day before yesterday and left after depositing a few 100,000 yuan in the hospital card. She said that he should continue to stay here. This kind of parent is really irresponsible. A good child is ruined just like that. Huamin sighed slightly. Those parents who only knew how to solve problems with money to make up for their children would definitely teach children who lacked love in the end. Huamin sympathized with that youth. When they arrived at room 7, she saw the nurse giving the young man an 4 drip. He was very quiet and did not move at all. When he saw Huamin enter, he seemed a little excited. "Sister, you're here. How are you feeling today?" Huamin smiled. "Much better. I'm calmer and not as manic as before." "That's good. Adjust your mood. The medicine we gave you can only be used as a supplement. It can't solve the root cause. The most important thing is your mood." "Yes, I'll listen to you. I'm not so angry when I lose the game. If I get killed, I'll just come back next time." Huamin nodded. "That's good to think that way. Rest well. If you need anything, tell the nurse." "Okay, I got it. Then you continue with the 4 drip. I'll go to another ward first." Huamin was just about to leave when the youth suddenly spoke behind her. "Sister, can I ask you for a favor?" "What is it?" Huamin was confused. Chapter 450. Can you take my place in tomorrow's ranking match? I want to see if you're good at it. Sure, no problem. But after the match, you have to go out and get some sun with me. Deal. The young man smiled brightly. Huang Zheming was a complete shut-in. He didn't like to exercise, let alone get some sun. Huamin also hoped that he could slowly adjust his mentality. In order to help the patient recover, he had to play games with her. Walking out of the ward, Nan smiled. "Head nurse, you're so popular. You can handle any kind of patient. People need to know how to get along with each other. Patients can be treated like friends. If you're honest with them, they'll naturally return the favor. Looks like I've learned a lot." Nan had gone from hating Huamin like Jiao Jiao to worshipping Huamin. It had been a long process. Now, Huamin was famous at Southside. Patients from other departments often came to her to discuss their patients and ask her to help with their recovery plans. Some patients even gave her gifts, but she wouldn't accept them unless they were small trinkets. After work, Huamin drove straight to Zhu Lingling. The two of them stopped at a Taiwanese restaurant. Huamin took out a paper bag and handed it to her. "This is for you." "Wow, Hermes bags. The latest model. There are even 2 of them. You're really generous. What's going on? Do you have something to ask of me?" Zhu Lingling asked with a smile. "No." "Then why did you give me a gift for no reason?" Zhu Lingling found it strange. "Hua Xiqian gave this to me. I can't take it back, and I don't want it. It's a pity to throw it away. It's best to give it to you." "Why would you throw it away? It's so expensive." "It's the right thing to give it to me." Zhu Lingling loved luxury goods. When she saw the 2 bags, she liked them very much. "How are things going between you and Gao Ran?" Huamin asked casually as he ate. "Ahem. What do you mean, what do you mean? You make it sound like there's something going on between us. Of course the 2 of you are having an affair. Don't talk nonsense. Don't blame me for sealing your mouth." Zhu Lingling laughed and joked with Huamin. Huamin liked to be with Zhu Lingling because he felt relaxed. When there was something to talk about, they would talk about it. When there was nothing to talk about, even if the 2 of them did not say anything, they would not feel awkward. This was much better than those besties who appeared to be on good terms with each other on the surface, but in private, they would plot against each other and tear each other apart. "By the way, did you know that Lu Xiying is engaged?" "Ah. I don't know, when? Huamin was a little surprised. Yeah, you left the group, so you didn't see the message. It happened a few days ago. She made an announcement in the group and a lot of people went. But she's rich, so she didn't accept any gifts. I heard that he's also a rich second-generation heir who came back from overseas and is quite good-looking. Don't be mad when I tell you. What's there to be mad about? Huamin lowered his head and ate a piece of pork rib. I saw her fiancé's photo in the group. He looks a little like Qin Chu. Oh. Really? Yeah, just a little, but not completely. Maybe that's why Lu Xiying likes him. Seeing that she has no hope of getting Qin Chu, she switched to a substitute. Actually, she's pretty crazy. Zhu Lingling sighed. I think she's pretty smart. She knows what she wants. For example, she likes Qin Chu, and she doesn't hide it. She doesn't feel sad when she rejects him. Even if she's looking for someone to marry, she's looking for someone who looks like Qin Chu. I have to say, someone like her is pretty persistent. Haha, you're right. But this is great, you have one less love rival. Zhu Lingling laughed. Come on, she's not a love rival. Mr. Qin doesn't even care about her. At most, it's one-sided love, okay? Lu Xiying had been obsessed with Qin Chu since high school, and Huamin was already used to it. After all, she knew too well what kind of person Qin Chu was. Su family mansion, Su drove home. His family was having dinner, and his parents and grandfather were all there. It was a happy family. Mom, this set of jewelry is for you. Su took out the jewelry he bought at an auction a few days ago and handed it to Lady Su. Master Lord Su was getting anxious. Su scratched the back of his head. I said it once, but she rejected me. Coward. If you reject her once, there's a second time. If the second time doesn't work, there's a third time. As the saying goes, sincerity can move metal and stone. You must be patient, Lord Su advised. I haven't given up. I'm just waiting for a good opportunity, Su argued. What kind of girl is she? What does her family do? Mr. Su asked in a muffled voice. She's a nurse in a hospital. Her family is very ordinary. Her mother runs a supermarket and her brother is in college. Too ordinary. Mr. Su was obviously dissatisfied. Master Lord Su immediately interrupted, Hey. As long as the kid likes her, don't be picky. You, remember Grandpa's words. As long as she's from a good family, has a good personality, a good heart, and is filial, it's fine. She meets all these requirements, Grandpa. Okay, that's good. Continue to pursue her and let Grandpa meet her as soon as possible. Yeah, son, I'm getting anxious, Mrs. Su agreed. I'll try my best. To be honest, Su didn't have much confidence. Originally, he was full of confidence, but when he found out that she was married to Qin Chu, he was very shocked. Moreover, Huamin's attitude towards him was worse than that towards an ordinary friend. He was very cold. Even if he wanted to do something, he didn't know where to start. After Huamin and Zhu Lingling finished eating, Zhu Lingling suggested that they go shopping. At a certain watch counter, Huamin bumped into Lady Qin. There were a few middle-aged rich ladies beside her. Hey, that looks like Qin Chu's mother, Zhu Lingling pointed at a woman and whispered, You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.